It's episode 305 of The Platformers, a show about games and nerd culture, and I, once again, returning from the dead, am your host, Brian Barnett.
I am Space Cadet Chris Cornelise, aka Delphi.
I'm Lucas White, and I just noticed while we were talking, there's just empty cardboard space in my frame here.
Nice.
It's fine. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It really brings the room together.
I've got so much junk on my desk, so I just thought I'd just do like this one.
It's
over
thematically
here.
appropriate. Hey, you missed opportunity to say, hey, everybody, I know that you're a little bit worried about this cardboard. It's a Nintendo Labo. Don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah.
It's thematically.
God, I completely forgot that thing existed, so there you go.
Anyways, I'm back. You couldn't keep me down for long. And you know what? I've been meaning to listen to the episode from last week, but I've been so busy I haven't done it because I've been watching all this LCQ stuff for Capcom Cup since, spoilers for the end of this episode when we do our plug section, I'm going to be covering Capcom Cup, dear listener, and you're going to have some cool stuff to see from me in the next week or so.
Which should be sick as hell.
But
That's real sick.
Sigyl I Am says, I'm chugging hot drinks and hating life in Hoarfrost Reach. Sigyl I Am. Wait, so is that a region? Hoarfrost
that
Reach,
is...
Sigyl I Am. Or Sigalium, or Sigyl I Am. Which, ever since I started
However
listening...
you want to pronounce it,
Ever since I started listening to the Black Eyed Peas, I just assumed that everybody who spells their name in that way is just like Will I Am, all that sort of stuff. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, no,
okay.
that is a reference to Monster Hunter World. So
Gotcha. Yeah. Hoarfrost Reach. That does sound. I will say that sounds like a part of Ice Crown. If you're a World of Warcraft fan.
Yeah, I could imagine that being like a subzone in that, or part of the raid or something like that.
Yeah, Hoarfrost is definitely like one of the Death Knight abilities.
There's certainly a talent named after. In fact, I'm going to go check. I have to know.
Yeah, Hoarfrost something. I feel like Hoarfrost is like one of those where you get like stacks that go up on people, or that might be Rhyme. Shit.
Rhyme is is when you proc an instant howling blast.
Yeah. I
haven't played a Frost Death Knight in years, and I still remember that.
Yeah.
Now, Hoarfrost Stomp is an ability in Elden Ring, but I don't know about anything for Death Knights in WoW. So.
An ability that was godlike, like absolutely top tier, until they just nerfed it into the dirt until it just wasn't very useful anymore at all. Man, what a bummer. What a bummer. I always love it when games give you like absolutely just busted abilities and just like let you clown on people. Like, I get that it was easy. It was really easy to get to. You could just ride right to it and then just trivialize anybody. But like, I don't know.
That's true of a lot of Elden Ring. Once you know where things are, you can just, zip around, grab specific things that you need for setting up your build, and then just go to town. Ooh. Like most builds of mine will still just be like, rush a blood weapon, go to the dragon, beat it up with blood procs, and then, start at level 37.
Bringing me some plant-based nuggies.
Oh, hell yeah.
Delish.
That's the good stuff. Yeah, for me, Elden Ring was put bleed on Greatsword and then just hit the button for the whole game. It worked out great.
I was a mage build, although my most recent attempt at a playthrough was more going spears and want to get all the dragon abilities, the faith dragon stuff.
Oh my god.
Because that seemed like it'd be a lot of fun, but I never got around to continuing that build, so I should get back.
It's really good. Doing like Rot Roar is like just ridiculous. Like that's how I beat I think that's how I beat Radahn. The first time, man, people don't understand. People really do not understand how hard Radahn was in the pre-release.
I beat him in, I beat him pre-nerf. So I was at it for a while before I got a good run to do it. So
yeah, like people,
he was tough.
Yeah,
that was
him pre-release when I was playing a wizard who hadn't leveled their health at all. Like you're toast. Anything he clips you with, you're dead. It was super brutal.
Yikes.
And then, meanwhile, I get to Melania and I one-shot her. Like, I've only fought Melania once and I beat her. So, like, the whole meme about people, like, let me solo her, it was like...
Let Brian solo her, yeah.
Let me solo her literally the first try. But I think that was because I was doing a God, what is that? So I did not arcane dex. I did dex int is my build. So I cast spells and use and like dual wield fast weapons. So I was doing whatever it was, the what was the sorcerer's katana? It was it had the two different special slices. One of them was horizontal and one of them was vertical. Those were like the special
I can't remember the name of it, but I do remember
seeing
really,
nerd sword.
Good. It's really, really good. But so I used that in my main
the judgment
hand,
cut.
and then in my offhand, I had a bleed katana. So I was dual wielding like
because bleed is real good.
Int scale. I mean, this was before bleed wasn't like bust. I forget. Did it start and bleed was busted, or did it get? I feel like it got patched and then bleed was busted, and then they patched it and it was not nearly as good. Because I had it in like pre-release and 1.0, and I feel like bleed was like not working properly, so it like really wasn't good. But some enemies like Millennia still had a weakness to it, so it was like it was still great for them, but it like wasn't proccing properly or something.
That was probably something with it.
Yeah.
I can't remember, unfortunately.
And then
I wasn't. Yeah.
And then they fixed it, and then it was like the thing to do. Because in 1.0 it was Horfrost Stomp that was the thing, and bleed wasn't proccing properly, or like bleed resistances weren't or weaknesses weren't being calculated properly. And then they fixed it not being calculated properly, and then bleed was like easily the best thing in the game, and then they fixed that. So we were on a roller coaster, but Elden Ring, what a great game.
Right. Excellent game. Do want to go back and actually properly finish it, because I didn't finish it. I got close. I put like over 100 hours into the first run, and I know people who, finished it in half that, but I'm just like, no, I'm being thorough. I'm checking this place out, doing all that, and then got to right about the fire giant and then stopped because that's about the time I got COVID. So then I was just kind of out of it for like a week and a half and then just lost my momentum. So never really went back properly after that. But I have been meaning to, maybe before the DLC comes out.
You can jump in when the new mobile version hits.
Is that really a thing? I know they want to, or like Tencent's trying to make it happen or something. I
thought that was just a knockoff. Is that real?
No, Tencent apparently is doing it. I don't know the extent of it. I know there's been a lot of weird Elden Ring news lately between Tencent messing around and then like FromSoft getting like full rights to the IP or whatever.
They got the rights back off Bandai Namco, so that's neat.
That's weird. Yeah, I would never have expected. So they don't seem to have chased the rights to their other stuff at all.
I feel like part of it must be that Bandai is like not in a super great financial position right now.
Could be something like that.
So it could be from being like, all right, this is like maybe our most successful game so far. We really would like to own this. Bandai's in a position where they might be more amenable to taking some cash and giving up control over that. Let's try it, and then it worked, maybe.
Yeah, and there might have been some behind-the-scenes drama as to why it's taken a while for the DLC. Yeah, because the typical release cycle for like Souls-like DLC is not as long as it's been. Yeah, it's coming up on 2 years since release, I think. So that's not how long it took to do. That's not unreasonable, but still.
Yeah, I know that it took the Ringed City took a while, but I feel like the Dark Souls 2 DLCs didn't follow that much after the game.
Yeah, I don't think it or Bloodborne, took that long before they got theirs.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not like they haven't been busy. They did release Armored Core 6, which still slaps, and I still need to get back to as well. But yeah.
Man, if they can release, if Shadow of the Erd Tree is to Elden Ring as God, what was it? The Old Hunters DLC is to Bloodborne, we're gonna be sitting extremely pretty. Because I as much as the Ringed City was like a real mixed bag for me, The Bloodborne DLC is just straight up some of the best content that's in that game completely. Like,
yeah, they definitely refined their stuff. Like, I that's another one I need to go back and actually tackle myself, because I cleared, base game and was like, this is awesome. I want to play this again. I'll come back to do the DLC another time, and then have to go around to it. But yeah,
man,
all the boss fights in that DLC I've seen and looked at and gone, these are awesome. So yeah.
Dang, Sigyl I Am is just going and getting the tech. Hold on, I got a novel to read you guys.
Okay. Hit me.
If it's anything like Warframe, Bleed deals damage that ignores resistances and armor as true damage, and its damage stacks without regard to that. So if you can proc a ridiculous amount or do a massive amount, it'll transfer that into the damage over time and practically kill anything. So there is a bit of that is true about Elden Ring. And that's why when you get up enough to bleed an enemy, particularly that's weak to it, it will just like chop their health bar like in half or something.
Yeah, it's like you build the status when it hits 100%, it takes a massive chunk of their max HP, sort of like Frenzy and Bloodborne.
Yeah.
So,
looking into Elden Ring, hemorrhage or bleed deals damage equal to health percentage and scales multiplicatively with Arcane. Deals about 15% of normal max HP with a 100 to 200 damage bonus based on the weapon. Bosses take 10.5%. There are no cooldowns or limits to prevent repeated procs and triggers, which is why you want to have one of the builds that was really great for a while was playing with the Rivers of Blood in your main hand, which has a great special ability that has a chance to proc bleed because it hits so frequently, and then having like a bleed katana in your offhand, because then you're double swinging, which gives you 2 hits, which deals into your procs and stuff like that. So it builds up the bleed gauge, and then as soon as the bleed or hemorrhage gauge is full, it triggers that big hit. And then you can just keep going, because typically when you hit them with that big hit, it'll stagger the boss, which gives you more openings to keep going. And because
and then you just keep on racking up the bleeds and the procs. And
one of the reasons that works so well on Malenia is a hyper offensive boss, but she actually has a really low stagger counter. So she is actually pretty easy to interrupt if you get going. So I went in and at that point when I was at this point, because I was writing guides for IGN for this game, I hadn't heard that much. There were like a couple of people who had fought her already, and we're like, man, just wait till you get to her. But I hear that all the time in Souls games, so I wasn't that worried. Because like the Nameless King is still like just brutal. But I went in and was just like hyper aggressive. I'm dual wielding, and I don't have a shield, so I'm automatically leaning into a more aggressive playstyle anyway. And then I didn't wait. So I think she only did like her waterfowl dance like maybe once or twice, and I just dodged it all and then went back in and just like obliterated her. So it was over very quickly. She spent almost no time in her second phase because she was just dead. And that really is the way to fight her, is just to be really aggressive.
Out-aggress the aggressor, yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
Just be more aggressive, rely on her weaknesses and stuff like that. I mean, there's even ways that you can, if you pull out like the shield guys, like the little, they're a really shitty summon normally, but they can just get there because her stagger resistance is so low. They'll just get up to her and just like bash her with the shield, and she's just like and then you can just like wail on her until she dies. So
yeah, because you summon a whole bunch of them, so that just chains the stagger, and it's like, yep, cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there are ways to cheese her, but even if you fight her straight up, like if you're super aggressive, like she's not that big a deal. But
She can't kill your waterfowl dance if you just kill her before she does it.
mm-hmm.
There you go. To your point earlier, I would have to assume that it was some kind of drama. Just because like the idea of there being financial trouble at Bandai is just like unthinkable.
Yeah, they have so many like big games that have long tails.
It's my understanding with Bandai specifically is like the video game stuff is basically like their funny money because they have more money than God from like model
They have
kits
the arms and everything else.
Yeah. So from everything else they do, the video game stuff is like for a long time apparently they just didn't like a lot of the top brass just didn't care, which I think is why you had like a lot of Tales games just not getting localized and stuff like that. And it
that was a weird time.
Yeah, it was basically like Japanese people swapping over to mobile games that kind of forced their hand to localizing things, but maybe it was just like, yeah, we don't really care, you just do your DLC or whatever, and they're like, fine, but that's conjecture too. But yeah, must have been drama. That sounds like drama.
Yeah, I don't remember where I heard that they might be having financial troubles, but if that is the case, that makes the most sense to me, where it's just like, or you could be right, where it's just like they're a big enough company that they're like, yeah, whatever, that's fine, whatever. Yeah. That's not meaningfully going to impact us,
Yeah, it's a different story if Gundam tries to walk and then they're like, oh, hold
wait a second.
Yeah, it's like a less severe version of like EA with FIFA, where it's just like, we make the best game around and people are going to buy it regardless. So we don't really need to license your name. We can just make all of the money ourselves and just do, EA Football Club or whatever. And like, we'll be fine. Like, just whatever. You want to negotiate up? Nah, kind of screw you, But yeah, I don't know. It is interesting to think about, but
for sure.
But this is a game podcast, not just an industry happenstance podcast, not just an Elden Ring podcast, although I would do that. Don't you fucking dare me. Don't you dare me. Because I have the platinum trophy in Elden Ring on PlayStation 5, and I almost have it on PC as well, and I almost have 100% completion with every item in the game. I quit my streaming series, and I'm sorry for those of you who are really invested in that, because that's where the whole it's not popular enough to be a meme, but that's where the whole like, you kids want some free damage thing comes from, Anyways, I
had always wondered about the origin of that phrase, because
there is a clip on my Twitch channel which you can look at. If you're watching this right now, you're watching on my Twitch channel, but you can see some stuff that got clipped out. One is you kids want some free damage, where I was fighting a giant. And the giant bent over because I hit him really hard, and I was like, "Oh, nice, some free damage." And then he started breathing fire on the ground that knocked me over. I was like, "Not free damage, not free damage." And then there was one time when I was trying to have a conversation. There's another really funny clip on there where one of the the animated mannequins that has like twin rapid fire crossbows. I'm like trying to talk to my magic teacher, and he just lights me up. And by the end of it, I'm like naked. I think I was doing like the let me solo her like cosplay or something during this conversation or whatever. And so I walk out of there and I look like a pincushion. Like I've just got arrows sticking out every side of me. And I'm just trying to have a conversation here, people. But yeah, head over to twitch.tv/RIBNAX to see some of those fun clips from my streams of Elden Ring. And you can head over to youtube.com/@ribnax if you want to see the whole VOD collection of me playing through Elden Ring, the journey to 100%. You can also see some stuff about me. I played through the entirety of Dark Souls 3 as a wizard. And I don't remember if I was only using sorcery and like didn't use melee attacks or something like that. I must have used melee attacks at some point.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be tricky to not, but
yeah. It wasn't strictly a challenge run. Man, I kind of wish that I had recorded my challenge run where I was doing Dark Souls 3 at Souls level 1. Because I did that and it was really freaking hard. That was definitely a challenge run. But yeah, I did that, but I don't think I recorded that. That was fun though. But anyways, we're here to talk about not more than just From Software and Bandai Namco and Souls games. Let's talk about some other stuff. Let's
talk about this week in games, I suppose.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of things I want to talk about. I feel like we can all really talk about Helldivers. I've played so much of that. I don't really want to get too into the nitty gritty about that, just because I feel like it hasn't been talked to death, but like I've just been doing so much of it that I feel like all you really need to do is give somebody the elevator pitch and just tell them how good it is, and that's kind of it. I don't feel like it really, it's not like some deep treatise on like the human condition or something like that, but
it's straight up what it is. It's just,
It's
kill bugs,
modern
kill robots.
Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
For Super Earth. But
Sigyl I Am says, I'm doing my part. Thumbs up at the camera. I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
Doing my part.
I didn't do
At least I
fucking
was.
shit.
I kind of fell off.
Have you guys seen that? That's one of my favorite things to come out of this. It's just like they got the Starship Troopers like, I'm doing my part. I'm doing my part. I didn't do fucking shit. And it's the guy, it's Tim Robinson from I Think You Should Leave. Oh,
Amazing.
it's really just remarkable. But anyways, let's talk about like 22 minutes into the show. Let's talk about Helldivers just a tiny bit.
I will step in and say, if you want to hear more in-depth, in the weeds, nitty-gritty stuff, Will and Lucas talked my ear off about it last episode, and it was great, and I was immediately sold on the elevator pitch and joined in, as I threatened to on that very stream, immediately after. So,
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
I've been playing it since then, and it's been good times. I've dived with some of our, mutual friends, and a little bit with you as well, Brian, and yeah, it's been a great time. I'm happy to do more of it. It's just a solid, enjoyable co-op experience. A lot of fun, a lot of chaos. Really solid. You've probably all heard about it, and you may have heard about how difficult it was to play this weekend.
Yeah.
That was the big thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even bother trying. I like
Me
saw the
neither.
headlines. I was just like, I'll focus my energy elsewhere.
I've been working on it. So like if you want to see, thankfully, like I bought this game just because I wanted to play it, but thankfully I am in a position where I know people in the industry and I can be like, hey, like I have this and I like know what I'm doing in it. Like if you need any assistance with coverage. So I was able to write up a best stratagems guide for GameSpot. So you can go over there and check that out. I've also got guides on where to find and how to kill bile spewers and devastators. I don't know if it's still up. I imagine it probably is, but the personal order for today was killing 15 devastators. So you can head over there and get like a full guide on like where you can find them, how you can take them out, all that sort of stuff. I'll tell you right now because you're here. Shoot them in the waist or shoot them in the face. Those are both weak points that they have. Use a breaker if you have it. If you've unlocked that, I think that's like on page 4 or 5 of the.
It's on page 4, and if you don't have the breaker, rush the breaker because it's the best.
Yeah, the breaker is the best primary weapon in the game, I think pretty easily. It's an automatic shotgun. It deals more damage than the marksman rifle, and it shoots way faster. And it also works on both bugs and automatons. So it really is just kind of the best all around thing. The only problem with it is it doesn't like it only has 16 shots before you have to reload. But you can carry the machine pistol as your sidearm to kind of cover for that. And that helps a lot. So I recommend taking the breaker if you've got it. If you don't have the breaker, the marksman rifle in your main hand and then the machine pistol in your offhand is probably the next best thing that you can do. And then go do the defend missions on Malvalon Creek or the other planets in the Automaton campaign. Do it on easy or higher. You can run into them on trivial, but I did the first one that I did this morning on trivial, there were none that showed up. So But as soon as I went to easy, I killed 9. So then I just had to do another one. So I recommend doing that. Bring in some sentries. I had the Gatling sentry, the machine gun sentry, and the mortar sentry, and a guard dog rover on my back.
They'll clean up good.
Yeah, I put them up on high like ledges and stuff, and it was really easy to clear out that mission even by myself. So I highly recommend that you do that, and net yourself a cool 15 medals for basically no effort. Once you know what you're doing.
But don't do it for the medals. Do it for the good of Super Earth.
It's true. It's true. We really do need to spread freedom, and we need all of us to do our part. But yeah, I think that the earworms that this game has introduced have been just worth their weight in gold. Just ba 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 bum bum bum.
Lots of heroic, swelling orchestral tunes.
God,
real good stuff.
When we were playing that mission, Brian, and we had the flag thing for the first time, that thing just comes from the sky and the speaker kicks in.
Yeah.
I was dying.
It's so great.
It's so funny.
It's really good.
I was gonna say, man, Brian, you I thought you took to the game pretty quickly, and then suddenly now you're like a walking Helldivers wiki. That was very fast.
Yeah. I'm like level 14 now.
Jesus.
Something like that. So yeah, I got it late. Like other people had gone into it, but like I've been playing a bunch. I revived that Discord because I had some people that I've known for ages who hit me up who are not part of the games industry and were just like, "Hey man, you want to play?" And I'm like, "Sure, let me like revive this old fighting game Discord that I had and just like invite
cross-section all the friends into this one place and go, we dive, let's go."
Yeah, we dive. And it's been fantastic. Like the only I ran into a few bugs, but I mean honestly,
and you killed them as you do.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. It must be done for managed democracy. But even with the like bugs and weird things where like we got stuck in a diving loading screen. And then one of the people in our party had to leave for us to actually get to the planet. And then he had to like restart his game and join back in and all that sort of stuff. So like that stuff sucks. But honestly, like it's
a lot of that is probably just due to server issues at this point because everyone is trying to play. They're trying to cram, 500,000 people in there at all times.
They did not expect this level
No
of
one
success.
expected this. No one expected this.
Yeah, it's absurd.
And it's like it. I would say if you're looking for a comparison, like I think the closest comparison to like how everywhere this is and how fun and satisfying and crazy and chaotic it is like it's like Left 4 Dead. Like this is what it's like for me, where it's just like everywhere I go, somebody's like, "Hey man, what are you doing? Are you playing Helldivers?" The only difference is that like. We can't do 4-player split screen or something like that, I mean,
it does kind of tick all those boxes, doesn't it?
Yep.
I feel like this is just kind of segued naturally over from the Lethal Company discourse that happened, at the start of the year, end of last year. Just that was the 4-player co-op shenanigans game that people were talking about. And I noticed that pretty much instantly a lot of the memes from that game have quickly found their way over to here. Like the shell-shocked Vietnam guy is just instantly the face of the robot campaign in Helldivers. So, yep. All right, cool. So there's probably a lot of overlap in that. But right place, right time to just really get everybody on board. And more power to it. It's really fun.
I'm so grateful for this game for just pushing Pal World like right off the face of the
Yeah.
And I'm so happy about that.
Yeah.
Operation Super Rough destroyed the Pal World menace. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. And one of the greatest things about this is that this is a game, and a lot has been written about this on social media and stuff, but this is a $40 game. It's available on PS5. It's available on PC. You can play it crossplay. And it does have a premium battle pass called the I think it's called like the Premium War Bond or something like that.
Yeah.
But you can find premium currency in the game. So even though it is
as part
$10,
of the free war bond, you can end up buying it pretty quickly just without spending a cent. And while there are, microtransactions and stuff, and we do need to call that out. It's like, yeah, okay, that's not good.
Yeah.
It really shouldn't be in there. But everything else about it is pretty solid. And I get it, right? You're going to make a buck here and there. But, like, I'm pretty sure they're making it on box sales. Just saying.
Yeah. So. And also, like, one of my biggest gripes with, like, I understand, and I'm more okay. I don't think it helps. Chris, you make a point often that what does this add? What does this help? Does it actually make anything better? And I don't think that's ever true. I agree with you there. However, I will say if we're getting into the what's the offense, I feel like if you can do everything in game and it's not like egregious, then I feel way more like okay about it. And
yeah, I throw the complaint out there more as the sake of just having it out there and being thorough in the analysis.
Yeah,
it is an extremely minor complaint, and compared to pretty much every other game in its class, inoffensive.
Yeah, the fact that you can, I feel like the fact that you can go into this game, like I've already earned, I want to say 2/3 of the premium currency I need to buy the premium battle pass just by playing the game.
Yeah, you can find it in the missions. You get, it is an option to pick up on the regular battle pass, which is the main source of progression in your game and what you unlock your weapons and armor and such through. So it's meant to be there. It's meant to be grabbed. So it's good that they have that. But it's totally doable to play with just the box price and get everything as it should be. But
yeah, and I think...
and you still won't be able to like rush and get pay to win or anything, and you don't even necessarily need it, because I ended up diving with some of the people in the Discord, and like I was at the time like level 4. I'd only played a few games. I could only queue up for medium games myself, and they dragged me into extreme 6 difficulty out of 9, and I'm just there going screaming, and yet still doing respectable amounts of kills, getting objectives done. It's like it's totally doable just with basic loadout once you know what you're doing. So yeah, we ended the extreme session with me unlocking the ability to access hard missions. I'm just staring at that like, okay, sure, game.
Yeah, wild.
It's like there are modifiers, I guess, with like armor, and then you get weapons that have slightly different properties, but that's it.
Yeah. Also,
like,
public
helmet
service announcement.
Is still one of my
capes
favorite
don't have
weapons.
stats. Yeah.
Public service announcement. It seems like right now the defensive modifier for the different types of damage or for the different types of armor are not calculating properly. So unless your armor has a specific perk on it, like I unlocked one through the free battle pass where it gives me a 50% chance to not die when I take otherwise lethal damage. So sometimes when I'm going on a really high difficulty mission, I will sometimes wear that instead of my standard like light armor that I use that makes me look like a biker scout from Return of the Jedi. But otherwise I'm using light armor because it gives me really high speed and really high stamina recovery. And because basically seemingly everything right now registers as regular armor. So when that gets fixed later, then maybe heavy armor will feel more resilient. But I did some testing when I was fighting bile spewers, and I realized that if you don't side strafe that ability, it one-shots you no matter what type of armor you have on. So I was like, oh, okay, so it doesn't make a difference, so I might as well be fast.
Yeah.
I feel like with heavy armor, I was definitely dying a lot less, but maybe I think the heavy armor you get first has also like extra explosion defense or something. So
Yeah.
maybe that's why I was.
Yeah, there's
It
like
has fire
50%.
resistance, I
Yeah,
believe.
50% explosion resist and stuff like that. There's also, but like
Turns out you get hit by explosions a lot.
you really
Who'da thunk it?
do. You really do. One of the great things about my light armor, though, which I got, actually, I probably would have been able to buy the premium battle pass already, but I think I spent like between 300 and 400 super credits on this armor set that I have, which is a light armor set. It's got like 544 speed. It's got like 59 or 57 defense, which is like not good. And I'm not looking forward to when that
When the math
kicks
matters.
in.
So when that gets fixed, yeah.
So when that gets fixed, I'm not looking forward to that. But I'm very fast. And when I crouch, I get extra recoil reduction, which is really great. And then it also makes me 50% resistant to explosions. So I'm getting that same benefit on light armor. So I'm burning the candle at both ends, and I'm really hoping that they don't fix that so soon. But at the same time, having like triple the armor on some of these heavy armor sets, I imagine would be really good, particularly on some of these like Bile Titan runs and, you know, basically anything, you know, the escort or rescue missions in the Automaton campaign and stuff. But man, I really can't
We might
wait
be able
to
to
see.
survive a hit from a rocket now.
Yeah.
We really shouldn't.
I
I want that to keep one shotting us. That's hilarious.
I really can't wait to see what Arrowhead is able to do with this, because, you know, some people have been floating the idea of like, oh, you could do a lot of tie-in stuff. This could be like PlayStation's version of that, where it's like, okay, maybe we have, and I was just kind of spitballing, and I'm like, okay, we can have a campaign where we fight the Hellghast. We can have a campaign where we fight like robot dinosaurs. We have a campaign where we fight like little fungus zombies and stuff. You know, like you could do any of those things, really, you know. But
Needs,
I just don't want them
needs
to
an
be
exoprimal
too-
crossover.
Exoprimal crossover would be
dinosaurs,
amazing.
there we go. Just regular
Portal
dinosaurs.
dinosaurs. Yeah, that'd be sick.
Sigyl I Am in the chat says, please, all caps, I need more Killzone Hellghast. Yeah. Hey, you know what would be a great faction to oppose us, the space fascists? More space fascists. There you go.
Yeah,
It's like
makes
World
sense.
War II, but Germany versus Germany. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, we just yell at each other. Silence liberal, says the fascist to the other fascist.
Yeah. But that'd be really fun. But anyways, all that to say, it's an inexpensive game. It's really popping off. It is super fun. The comedy is like top tier. If you go to, and I know this is very specific, if you go to the IGN video review for Helldivers and look at 7 minutes and 10 seconds in, you will see me doing a ridiculous thing to escape. And I hope you enjoy it if you go check that out. But
Need
The
to
review
watch
for
that
IGN was
TFI
written
movie.
by Will. So
yeah, it was written by Will Berger, frequent co-host for this very show. But anyways, Helldivers
sorry to cut you off, Luke.
has gotten. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Lucas, were you trying to say something?
Oh, I think I just said something like I need to watch that video to see if I'm in it.
Yeah.
Look, no, it's me.
We played Will and I played Helldivers for some absurd amount of time, like the week or so before everyone else had it.
Yeah.
I want to say we played it for like 5 or 6 hours straight.
Nice.
At one point.
Beautiful. I love it.
But yeah, you should play Helldivers too, because everyone you know is probably playing it as well.
And
So
if they're
why
not, they should be, because
they probably will be soon. Because everyone's
democracy
getting
never
it on it.
sleeps.
Or they're
right.
just waiting in line.
Yeah, that
They're
is
probably
true.
just waiting in the queue. Yeah. Shout outs to the Endwalker launch that was brought up in the chat the other day by friend of the show, Timo. I'm like, oh no, I got freaking PTSD from that one.
Yeah.
Log in early. Do not let yourself AFK out ever.
Log in early. Log in often. All right.
Hopefully not. Just log in once and stay in. Because
Oh, well,
if you log
they've
out,
been-
back in the queue, baby.
The dev's been talking about that, talking about kicking people out, adding like an AFK timer or something like that to the game. Because like people have apparently
Probably
been
needs
sitting
to
in there
happen, yeah.
all night and it just doesn't ever boot them, which I was surprised that they didn't have a solution for that, but I guess they just didn't expect to need it.
I doubt they were expecting to need it.
Yeah.
Again, like, no one expected this to the level it got.
No one expects the Super Earth Inquisition. I'll put
It's
it
true.
that way.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Helldivers 2 first got announced, and people were mostly just confused. Like, wait, what? How? Because like the first one was like I think people who played it liked it. It did okay, but it was so much like a smaller
It was
impact.
much more niche, yeah.
Yeah.
Really,
Like,
the camera shift really did help. Like, more people are willing to look at it when it's a third-person shooter as opposed to a top-down twin stick. Even if I like my top-down twin sticks, but yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
And we all do. We know it. But, you know, Sony, it's Sony, so it had to be a third-person shooter. And lo and behold, it's even more successful than they could imagine. Will they ever learn the right lesson from this? I don't think so. I don't think so.
They'll do it only worse and more expensive.
Yeah. I wonder if it'll like impact their PC release cadence at all, or if it's going to kind of be like, oh, well, we'll put the smaller games on day one, but everything else is still going to be like a year or two away or whatever.
I don't know. They really do need to kind of get with it, in my opinion, because this was like the best possible. You're not going to get that zeitgeist with people who don't have a PlayStation, and you need to understand that like there are people on PC or people on Xbox. Like there's been a huge call for PlayStation to bring this game to Xbox because people are like, we need help against these robots. We need help. You know, and then there on the other side of the coin, like I've seen people post and be like Halo players who've been fighting the Flood and the Covenant and the Locust Horde, like for their entire lives, preparing for this moment. Like they were the Xbox crowd was made for this. Like we need to get them in here. But
and get the 10-0, they're good at fighting the infested. It's good enough.
Yeah. But anyways, all that to say, go buy Helldivers, go play Helldivers. It's so fun. I really like it. It is it's glitchy, but it's real worth it. Real worth it. A lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
Good stuff.
Sigyl I Am in the chat says Deep Rock Galactic shows up for profit and starts fighting everyone.
Speaking of,
that's an excellent segue, actually, because Deep Rock Galactic did show up this week for myself and Lucas. So, why do you start us off, Lucas?
Sure. So I have no idea what the hell this game is, but you were talking about it a few times, and then I
mentioned it yesterday, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you mentioned it before, I don't remember, but it sounded familiar-ish, even though I had no idea what the hell it was. And then I saw that it was like I don't know what we call them, but I'm just going to call it Vampire Survivor-y kind of
auto shooter, bullet heaven,
auto shooter, there we go.
That kind of thing. I think they have auto shooter listed on the actual store page, but yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, it looks like one of those, but with like way higher production values. So I'll try it out. And it's really intricate. I think is the best word I have for it. At first I was kind of like, I don't know, because this sure is like messy European like Warhammer game UI all over the place, and my eyes are glossing over all the text all over the screen. But I pushed past it and ended up playing it quite a bit last night. And yeah, it's just for context, I guess you're dwarves and you're like in a mine that's also in outer space, and you're shooting a lot of bugs, but you're also mining for gold and gems and whatnot. So it's like you have these really intense cooldowns on your weapons, and you also don't have like direct control over them. So what ends up happening is like you're kind of juggling between like, okay, trying not to die while I'm being swarmed by bugs, but also like, okay, my ammo's out, I'm vulnerable, so let me go like beat on the wall for a little bit and see if I can like kind of push my way through and kind of use the wall as a shield.
Make a choke point, yeah.
Exactly, but also like find the specific spots to mine for the materials, which also takes longer. So it's kind of like this juggling act, I guess. If you have
I will just quickly add some context, just because We're actually discussing Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, which is the spin-off of the main Deep Rock Galactic. And I mentioned this to you last week because the main Deep Rock Galactic is a 4-person co-op first-person shooter, which is they've stripped it down to be the little auto shooter top-down thing for this spin-off. But the main game itself plays, again, sort of like Helldivers, but with the focus on, in addition to just shooting bugs, you have to mine, complete objectives, find the resources and such. And it has the main selling point, I suppose, is that the terrain deformation is really good. So you do end up, everyone has various traversal options, the ability to just, take a pickaxe to it. Some people can drill right through, some can, blow up huge sections of it. And that can be very useful for, excavating resources and accomplishing all sorts of objectives. And yeah, the game is really solid. It's cheap. It's fair. It has, very few microtransactions. It is even better, in that regard to how it doles out content and player experience and progression than even Helldivers. So Deep Rock Galactic is very, very good. It's kind of the gold standard I have for that style of game. So when they announced that they were doing a spin-off in the style of Vampire Survivors, and they announced that a couple of months back, I'm like, all right, you got my attention. So, and that just dropped a couple of days ago in early access. So that's what we've been playing.
Okay. Yeah, see, one of my main questions for you was, is this like an IP that
yes, this is the second game in an IP,
yeah, there you go. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So it definitely seems like it seems like a established thing. Like it just feels that way, which I think is part of my confusion as to like, okay, what is going on here? Because there's so many games that is like you have these silly dwarves and you're doing dwarf things, but this feels a little more like lived in, I guess.
Hyper-capitalist dwarves doing capitalist things, and that's basically the crux of it. It is like so many other games nowadays, and rightfully so, just the hyper-capitalist absurdity, almost parody, kind of mocking and, denouncing it. But yeah, it's just you work hard, dangerous jobs for ridiculous hours for shit pay kind of thing, and all the humor and such that can be drawn from that.
Yeah, very, very lots of one-liners. One of the guys in particular that I've been playing with a lot, it's got the usual roguelike thing of like paying for upgrades between levels, and every single time he complains about having to pay for them himself when he's doing it for work. That's pretty good. Gosh, I'm trying to think, because like the game throws a lot at you all at once.
I think my familiarity with the base Deep Rock Galactic does help, because I at least can pass a lot of it quickly and go, okay, I recognize that. I know sort of how this weapon will function. I know how overclocks work, that kind of thing. So it's probably, I am curious to hear how you're finding the learning curve of it.
Yeah, definitely like a lot of, because there's so much text, it's really easy for me to miss like how much control I did or didn't have for different weapons. So a lot of them will be like, okay, so this weapon will shoot at the closest enemy. This weapon will just fire in the direction you're facing, just the whole, like by itself. Like some of them are like proximity based, whereas like, okay, this one will fire behind you, but only if it's like detecting enemies. And so there's a lot of like thought of like, okay, if I start with this weapon, then I need to look out when more weapons come in to fill in whatever like gaps I have. Because if I don't take that kind of seriously, I'm going to end up with a loadout that just is not helping me. Especially because like I'm 3 levels in, sort of, I guess is the way it works, because it sort of like opens them up kind of staggering, and
different difficulties for each biome, as it were.
Yeah, and I'm definitely, by the 3rd one, I've hit the point where it's like I'm really struggling with damage output. Especially one thing I kind of came to realize is like the reload times I mentioned earlier really like got me into a panic. So I was like, okay, pick the reload. And it's like, oh god, now even the little baby bugs just aren't dying.
Yeah, your pea shooter has very little downtime, but it also shoots peas. So
yeah, exactly. So it's very different from Vampire Survivors, and that game is just like you just pile on and pile on and pile on, and it's more about the spectacle of just how much destruction you're causing. Versus this one, it does take the surviving part, I think, a little more seriously.
Yeah, I think it's honestly more smartly designed, both to kind of get the feel of the base Deep Rock Galactic, but also just to really kind of do its own thing with the auto shooter bullet heaven genre style. Because again, I think the best way I think of it is Vampire Survivors, your end goal is to get to the point where you can just take your hands off the keyboard.
Right.
Like you get to the point where it's like, cool, hands off, I'm just going to annihilate everything. That moment will never happen in Deep Rock Survivor, because you'll probably never hit that power point. And even if you do, you have objectives to accomplish. You need to be moving. You need to be mining. And there is a timer that fills as you go in each stage. And certain events will happen along that timer, depending on how deep stage you go. Each run is down to 5 stages. So 4 basic stages and a boss stage. But so a timer will progress. And on each level, at certain intervals, a swarm will kick in. So a lot of enemies, a lot of big enemies will then come in. And also, once every level, a resupply pod will drop down, which you need to clear the landing site so it can get through. And then if you do that and stay in the area, you get an artifact, which is a very helpful upgrade. You don't have to do it, though. You can just ignore it. You can go in a different direction. You can forget about it. But it means you're not able to just sit there. You always have to think about, okay, do I have secondary objectives to accomplish? Is the resupply coming up? Should I go get that? Can I go get that? And then even in the midst of it, it's like, that's a lot of bugs. Can I handle that? My damage output is probably not. I'm going to make a choke point. I'm going to dig through, this wall over here to try and just escape that for a while and manage it a bit better. But then as a result, any kills you get, the XP globes get dropped behind. So you got to go find a way to try and pick that up, or you're not going to be getting stronger. So there's always this back and forth, this question, questions you're asking yourself about what you should be doing in the moment. And it becomes so much more involved, despite the level of my involvement being entirely just, WASD. Just what direction am I moving? Yeah. And I find it so smartly designed. It's just really, really good about how it's managed to balance all those factors and really, make you juggle it, while also managing your own meta progression. Like, what do you want? Like, do you need these minerals to get the permanent upgrades in between? When you hit a level up, are you trying to upgrade a certain weapon up to a point so you can unlock an achievement and, get further progression through that thing? It's just, there's a lot going on, and I've just found myself really compelled by it. So I picked it up yesterday on a whim, figured I'd get some hell diving done, at some point, and then just played through until I had to leave my computer like 5 hours later and say, oh, I need to go. I've got something on. And then came back home and did it again and then played it this morning until we started this. So I was like, yeah, it's consuming me and it's great. So I was not expecting it to fall in love with it nearly as much as I have, but no, I want to get right back into it. It's really good.
Yeah, it's definitely has... It makes you use your brain so much more often, and like the different, there's only a few classes, but they feel really distinct. Like one of them, I didn't really enjoy playing with it, but it was really fascinating to try as the engineer, which like it's kind of the typical PC shooting game engineer character where you're like dropping sentries and stuff, but like in that auto shooter context, it's really strange, but neat. Like I feel like the player that can like wrap their head around that will have a really good time, because like it's like you had your sentry is your main weapon, and you only drop the sentry when you stop moving, and then there is like cooldowns and stuff. So it's like there's a whole additional layer of like really paying attention to your positioning, because otherwise like your guys just dropping turrets in your little tunnels that you're digging, and they're just like completely useless.
They're not getting much, no good field of fire or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's
really,
interesting.
really fascinating stuff.
Have you tried out the driller yet, the 4th class, or have you not unlocked that?
I haven't unlocked that yet. I've been spending most of my time with the gunner just because it's like lizard brain. I can handle
Yeah, fair.
so much more other things while I'm just letting the bullets come out of my body.
Yeah, I find the driller, like, just, I can see why that's the last one to unlock, just because of the way it functions is really interesting. And it definitely feels like the kind of thing you need to have at least played the base game a bit to get your brain wrapped around. So I won't go into the full specifics of all of its weapons and such, but the basic loadout is that you have faster mining speed, and the more you're mining, that increases even further to the point where, when you're just sitting against a wall, it goes up to like 75% mining. So you're just chewing through walls. But as a result, your base weapon is a revolver that only shoots behind you. So you just want to be digging all the time. And just like, nah, fuck this. I'm not facing the enemies. I am running. I am going for objectives. I'll clean them up on the way. And so it's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I did notice that like digging also gives you a little bit of EXP. So I kind of started to be like, okay, I'm less nervous now about just taking time to like explore the level a little more.
Yeah, the big mineral patches will give you, XP. So you're not completely screwed if you're not fighting. So again, very well designed in that regard.
Yeah, a lot to think about. I think the amount of information on the screen at one time is a little troublesome, especially for people like me. But I think there's a sweet spot where you can kind of like only really take in what you need to, and then find what you're comfortable with, and then kind of the rest of it opens up around you.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, what is this game called again? Deep Rock Galactic.
Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. Yeah. It's
really
out on
interesting
Steam
game.
On early access, and it's pretty feature complete for early access. All the base classes from DRG are in it. A lot of weapons, a lot of different things. There's definitely more room for it to grow, more biomes and such, and they've said it's going to be in early access probably for around 6 to 12 months. Couple very minor bugs I've had with it, but for the most part, it's a pretty smooth experience for an early access launch. And yeah, it's got the same kind of quality I expect from Deep Rock Galactic, and I dig it, literally.
Yeah, I like this genre. I think it had kind of a little bit of a rough going when it first blew up after Vampire Survivors, because
everyone just did Vampire Survivors again, but so they couldn't quite hit that same level, because Vampire Survivors was just churning out content and was really clever and addictive about how it did it. But now we're getting into the weeds of it. It's the situation with MOBAs, where Heroes of the Storm, came out, looked at the MOBAs and went, what do we actually need from that? And how can we do our own thing? And then it was great, and no one played it, and it died horribly. I miss it. But,
RIP. Yeah, this seems like there is enough interest, especially with games like, was it 20 Minutes Until Dawn?
20 Minutes Till Dawn, which I've also still been playing a bunch of on my Switch, just as a go-to game. Just good, thoughtful ways to approach this style of game with varying levels of control. Some of it is automated, some of it is not. And it's just kind of, I feel like we're going to see a resurgence both of that and just the twin stick shooter as a result, because a lot of those do, like 20 Minutes to Dawn really strays into that kind of territory as well, which I know Brian can attest to because he played that and introduced me to it. So
yeah, the ceiling still feels pretty high for like what can be kind of crammed into that space. Nice. And I think the juice is there. Like, people are putting effort into it.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about it in creative mediums in general. It's like everyone's like, be original or whatever. It's like, to a point, but we don't create in a vacuum. And the first thing in a genre is rarely the best compared to the ones that take that and iterate on it. And that's how Blizzard rose to fame in the 90s. It's just they took other things and go, okay, we can just polish the shit out of this style of thing and put our own spin on it, and off they went. And the 3 core pillar franchises were all similar to that. And I think that that's true of any kind of burgeoning genre, is yeah, the first idea is pretty neat. Vampire Survivors is pretty neat, but it will not be the best bullet heaven game to exist by the end of it. Hopefully.
Exactly.
Interesting.
If we didn't have Breath of the Wild or Genshin Impact, we wouldn't have Sonic Frontiers, right?
Yeah, that's
That's definitely how time and causality work.
let's maybe keep iterating on that genre a bit more. Yes, thank you.
We'll call them the grass and piano lakes.
Maya Ligus backwards in the chat says the Vampire Survivor I'm looking forward to is when V Rising gets its full release date. Yeah, that's
God damn it, Brian.
What? What? I thought you would like that.
I did.
So, anyways,
I'm with you though. V Rising slaps hard. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of, I got him.
I'm so mad.
It's really terrible, but I did it anyway, and you can't stop me. So you might as well just be along for the ride.
It's good to have you back. Sorry to have just talked your ear off about this game for a while. Please.
Oh, that reminds me. That message that I got. That message that I got that I didn't talk about.
Yeah, you were going to tell us this before the show started. So.
Yeah, I was going to say somebody who will remain unnamed messaged me after last week's episode and said, just finished listening to episode 304. They were so agreeable with their comments and opinions that it was almost a 1-hour show. I missed your 8-wing come at me bro opinions, but I never realized how these things impact the timing. Parentheses, this is an attempted compliment, but the compliment is only conveyed in my tone of voice and smile, and the text format contains none of that, sadly. You were missed, which I appreciated, and I also thought was very funny. That my combative...
I don't even think it's your combative anything that necessarily makes these, stretch out to the hours that they do sometimes, and just I just happened to have a clean shot last time.
That's true.
I think everything just lined up.
It's true. Yeah. So I am curious. I am curious what you guys think about that. Whether you think that there is validity to that, or or what have you.
Look, if you give me a topic and a platform, I will sit here and talk your ear off. So if you want, and I think, it's not just a case of you being combative or doing anything like that. It's just you and I doing that, and then having the back and forth and dragging everyone along for the ride for 3 hours while Will is sitting in the background going, please just let me sleep, guys.
Yeah. Well, that's what you get for being on the East Coast, Will. That's what you get. I didn't do this to you. You did this to you.
Yeah, I'm on the East Coast too, man. Suck it up.
Yeah, that's easy.
Different East Coast, but
Yeah, it's all the same, right? All the East Coasts are created.
Totally.
All East Coasts are created equal. That's what I heard. I don't know,
that's what it says in the Bill of Rights.
Which definitely applies to your East Coast as well, right, Chris?
Yeah, completely. The American Constitution is completely valid in Australia.
Yeah.
Oh
but let's talk about something else. If you guys don't have anything else to say about that complimentary but also like weirdly toned message, then we can talk about another game that's actually in early access that I've been playing.
Please, by all means.
go for it.
I will just say again, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, good. And it's cheap. Go get it.
Yeah.
Very good.
So I've been playing a little game called Helskate. Have either of you heard of this?
Heard of it, yeah.
Okay.
Heard of it.
I think I've heard the name, but I don't know anything about it. Yeah.
So Helskate is a skateboarding game a la Tony Hawk, but it's also a roguelite, and it also has combat. So if you're like, wait a second, that doesn't sound like Tony Hawk, you're right. It doesn't.
It sounds like Tony Hawk Underground. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, and you can And you can hop off of your skateboard and just like run or walk or whatever. But I unfortunately, I'm noticing a sad trend where like a lot of games that either ran well on my laptop previously or are games that are kind of the same visual fidelity that would have run well on it are like not running well on it now.
Bit long in the tooth now. Time for an upgrade.
It's really unfortunate, and I'm debating whether I'm just going to end up getting like a word processor laptop that's just super slim and super light and really small, and then just get like a Steam Deck or something to try to kind of bridge the gap to be able to play this stuff on the go. Or whether I'm going to like just have to save up for a long time and like get a more powerful gaming laptop, but it's really obnoxious. But one of the things that I think is interesting. So the premise is that you are kind of in a sort of hell, and there is a guy who rules over it, who is a skateboarder like your character, but because there are monsters everywhere and there's a bunch of crazy stuff going on, he's been like rearranging the world to try to keep the people that are remaining in the last city safe, maybe. But also there's the idea that the main character who you play as is trying to get to this beach because he remembers it having like the best skate park ever. So he's like just trying to make his way there because he feels like then maybe he'll be happy or something. So there's a couple of people around the city where you will return to, very much like Hades, after you die, and you'll have like little blurbs and conversations with them. One is a tattoo artist where you can save up kind of your diamond currency that persists throughout each death. That's like your permanent currency. And you can use that to get tattoos on yourself that are also permanent that will give you certain bonuses. So one will be you'll have like a continue after you die. Like you'll die once, you'll have another life. And then there's one that's way more expensive where you can get like 2 extra lives. But that's kind of like the darkness board in Hades.
Right.
Where you can get those sorts of things. You can also
Good old Death's Defiance.
Yeah. And there's other ones as well. Like other special abilities as well. And then there is a skate shop where you can gather materials from defeating enemies and from destroying certain stuff in the environment, like crates and things, where you can get certain types of crafting materials, and this person can make you different skateboards based on that. Now, the unique thing about the main character is that their skateboard broke and they found one out in the wilds. And it's a special skateboard that is like ancient. And whenever he rides on it, it lets him summon this like spectral sword that lets him deal damage to these monsters. And nobody else can do that. So basically the skate shop owner tasks him with going out, collecting resources from the Helskate and bringing them back so that she can craft new types of skateboards, which have different types of weapons. So the one that I have right now, the one that you have from the start, is like a katana style weapon. There's another one where it's like a giant hammer. There's another one where it's like shuriken and stuff like that. So all of these, you'll be skating, you'll be doing tricks and things like that. You'll be doing chains with manuals and grabs and flip tricks. It feels very similar to Tony Hawk. Like, so if you just imagine that, you're in a pretty good headspace. The only thing is it's like very kind of Borderlands cell shaded type graphics and things like that. But when you do L1 on your controller, you will do a dodge that you can use to dodge incoming attacks, and R1 will slash. If you do R2, you'll do like a sustained like spinning slash that will keep dealing damage for a while. But each one of these moves, not the dodge, I don't think, but the other two, like your attacks, will act as combo continuers. So if you have like a big trick sequence that you're doing, you can then attack enemies to get like 4 or 5 more hits on your combo, and then do like a flip trick out of that attack and continue and keep going. So the idea is you're creating these long strings like you would in Tony Hawk, but you're incorporating combat into that with enemies that move around. There are some other ones that are stationary and things like that.
So instead of manualing in between grind rails, you're just killing a dude. Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have the manual too, because they're not everywhere. So like you'll have like a skate park, like in Tony Hawk 2, like let's say you're in the hangar, which is the first level in Tony Hawk 2, one of the best levels in Tony Hawk ever, one of the best video game levels of all time. So like imagine you're in a place like that for a while. You would have maybe 3 or 4 enemies in like the main area, and then like if you crash the helicopter and then get access to the outside, then you would have like 2 extra enemies that you could fight. Once you kill them all, you'll get what was, like Hades, before you go into a room, you'll see what your reward for completing it will be. Once you kill all the enemies, that's your gateway forward. So once you do that, a little pillar will rise up from the ground. You approach it and you collect your rewards for this room, and then you decide which one of 3 like rotating things you would want to get out of the next room. And that's how you continue. There are pits like around, and if you fall into that, you will lose health because you have a health bar. If you get hit, that will also deplete your health and those sorts of things. One of the tattoos that I got, and Sigyl I Am in the chat says the tattoos as your permanent buffs is such a wild and interesting interpretation. I agree. I think it's a great idea. Because he doesn't lose his body when he dies. He's just, a portal opens up under the ground, chains come out and wrap around him and pull him back to prison, and then he has to break out to do it again. So yeah, it's really cool. One of the tattoos that I got is it gives me a little bit of health every time I clear a room. It's not that much, but you can upgrade those tattoos after a while. And so there will be certain things that will be surrounding the level, just like in a Tony Hawk level. There will be Helskate, just HELSK, and then the number 8. And those will be like the little skate numbers and letters that you'll find around the stage. Yeah. You got to collect them all. There's also like do a combo that is this score, this score, this score. Like it's very much that. There are also like 3 like ravens with security camera heads that are like sitting on ledges or something around the stage. You need to attack them, get rid of all of them to complete another one. But you have like those little things that you do, and then you just kind of decide, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to get money that I will lose when I die, but I can use to buy little things from little stores or stations like in each level?
Strengthen this run for a better chance of getting to the end, or cash out. Yeah.
So I've played this game for about 4 hours. And I do think that the gameplay is super solid. It is in early access, and it in certain ways. So backing up, gameplay wise, it feels very, very polished in the main. So like the way that your character feels to move around and to skate generally feels very good. There are some times where, I will like miss a jump, or I will try to grind on something, or I will try to do like a wall plant or something, and it just like won't come out. Or there is, so far up to this point, I have not found a way to do like a vert transfer, which is like a really key ability in Tony Hawk. And because there are a lot of like upper ledges that I want to get to, that can be a little annoying to like navigate around those sorts of spaces. However, you can get like special, when you enter for the first time, you will get one piece of gear, and you can pick up gear that will add different effects to things. So like imagine, okay, when you do an indie like nose grab, it'll shoot a rocket in front of you or something, like modifiers and stuff like that. There's also like, every time you attack an enemy, create like a poison thing underneath them that will keep dealing damage. There's that sort of stuff. There's also like tapes that you will, those are the tapes. The gear will give you, that's the gear that will give you special effects when you are doing stuff you already have. Then there's tapes which you can pick up, which will give you new tricks. So this will be like Do like an impossible flip or something like that. You'll unlock new moves as you proceed. There's also ways to increase your character's stats, which is also a Tony Hawk thing. I have not been able to find a way to like increase any of my stats so far, but I'm not really sure. Like maybe I just didn't get far enough or something like that. I definitely was of the mind early on of like, I want to 100% each one of these areas before moving on, because that's typically how I play these games. It really does not feel like the game wants you to do that at first. It feels like it's just, all right, just get through this room, like don't die, kill all the enemies as fast as you can, and then just keep moving. And once I started doing that, it was like, all right, now I'm getting more resources. Now I'm able to actually like kind of get the ball rolling, which is really what the beginning of any roguelite is like for me. It's just like, all right, I'm not trying to beat the game. I'm trying to accumulate resources to make things easier. And that is still
smoothing the curve so you can shoot for the end. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is definitely working right now. There are also some enemies that introduce different lines into the game. So like, for example, there's an enemy that's like really long. It's like almost like a centipede, and it has like 3 or 4 heads on it. And you're meant to grind it. You're meant to grind the enemy and attack it as you go along. So like there are some interesting wrinkles like that. There are also some like wall-mounted enemies that'll be like turrets, and enemies will have very almost MMO raid boss style like target things. So
telegraphs.
Yeah, I'll be approaching an enemy and they'll have this giant like blue lane where it's like, you better stay out of here because there's going to be something that hits here. And if you're not careful, they're going to get you. So you have to be, keeping your head on a swivel. You have to be watching out so you don't take that sort of stuff, and then you'll go up a vert ramp. And then as you're flying up, an enemy will be on the wall and you'll be slashing at them and trying to take them out and these sorts of things. It can be hard to see some of those sometimes because of the way that the environment is laid out. So like there is a degree to which the gameplay is really solid, but the environments don't always support that or like play into that in a very synergistic way. I
might just need to work on the clarity a bit.
Yeah. But it is still in early access, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that hopefully gets polished as it goes.
That's what I'm hoping, because I do feel like it's an interesting idea.
The premise sounds great. I'm intrigued. So.
Yeah. There's not that many skateboarding games. We've got Skate, we've got like Session, we've got Tony Hawk, which is the big one, and then we've got like Ollie Ollie, which is the side-scrolling kind of like more input intensive one. This is more casual in the way that you play, which brings it back to like kind of Tony Hawk, but then it adds these extra wrinkles, and I think that could make this a really fun game to go back to, letting you kind of chase things even after you get, 100% completion in a particular area, because there's always kind of more to see. But right now it definitely comes with caveats, where like when I'm playing on my desktop, it runs like beautifully. But I would be really curious to see how this game would run, or if it would run on Switch, because I feel like that could be a really good place for it.
It might just be a case of they're waiting for the full release, given that you don't do early access releases on Switch currently. Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that the idea, this is definitely a case where like I feel like its reach exceeds its grasp right now. I hope that changes, because I think that introducing something like this into kind of the skating genre would be really, really cool. And I really want it to be awesome. Yeah.
There's definitely more room for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
One thing I'm curious about just listening to you, it sounds like, or at least it's not clear to me what the pressure of it is. Like in a roguelike, you're usually kind of like your environment's kind of forcing you to move forward or whatever, right? Whereas you made it kind of sound like that's more of a choice you're making to like.
It is.
So are you just kind of like, just kind of cruising basically like in a space? And is it like wide open, like a Tony
What's
Hawk
your
level?
fail state here, basically?
Your fail state is running out of health, which you can do by being hit by enemies. But even after you defeat all the enemies in an area, you can cruise around. But in a lot of these areas, they will have pits or pools of some sort of water. But if you drop into them, like, you lose health, like in Zelda, like, when Link falls into something, he loses a little bit of health and appears back on the shore. Like, that's just kind of what happens. And if you're not careful, or if you're going for a particular gap or a particular collectible, it's very easy to fall in here, and there's really not anything you can do about it once you kind of commit to it. Like, there's one of the levels that they hit you with very frequently early on, is one where there are like 4 kind of sections separated by like a cross of like a canyon, and falling into any of those when you're crossing any of these gaps is going to result in you losing some health. So early on, before I kind of got the understanding of what the game wanted me to do, I would be getting hit by enemies as I was trying to like swing and attack them. I would get hit by an enemy by trying to grind on them and like not quite getting the angle right. And then I would get shot into a pit, so then I take damage twice, or I would get, I would just like I wouldn't have enough speed, or my ollie wouldn't go high enough, and I would just like fall into the pit. Or I would try to do a flip trick, and that would cause me to fall short. And I found those little bits of damage added up really quickly. So, but other than that, like, once you've got a feel for it and you know how to move about, then yeah, I mean, you can just move around in an empty arena and just do tricks and whatever to try to finish out the different goals that you have in the stage if you want to. Like, there's nothing that really stops you from doing that if you want to.
But the caveat is, if you fuck up, then that's a health penalty, which you'll be taking forward with you for the rest of the run.
Yeah.
So resources to juggle.
But there's no timer or anything like that, which is, maybe later on they'll introduce something like that. But right now, like, there will be little bonus rooms that you can unlock where it'll be like, all right, there's like a little challenge room where it was like, you'll get some of the permanent currency, but you have to do like a sequence of manual challenges where, like, the first room is like manual for 3 seconds, and then the next one's manual for 5 seconds, and then the next one's manual for 7 seconds, and then it's 11, and then that's how you win. And it's like each one will have like a platform that you need to manual across I don't know that you have to, but it definitely kind of lines up with how long you need to do it. But for one of them, it was this platform that like curved around the stage. So it's like I had to do a manual while I was steering around this really long platform. And it was like, this is tough. I don't know that I need to do this, but I'm just going to do it because it's there. So I might as well. But like, and then managing that, and your balance and all those sorts of things. And then you get to the end and it's, you get your bonus, and then you move on and you choose what next reward you want to get. In that, it is very similar to Hades. Although there is that clock in Hades, that's constantly counting up. There isn't anything like that in here that I saw, at least. Maybe I just totally missed it.
Yeah, I guess when I think of like Hades or games like it, it's usually like you are in this enclosed space.
Yeah.
And the challenges of it kind of come to you.
Yeah.
And that kind of is where like the pressure, I guess, to complete the room comes from.
Yeah. And that is
so
not
hard to like.
Yeah, that's not really true here, and also because like they don't chase after you, and also there are not that many enemies. Like it can feel more tense because a lot of times, like I was talking about with the hangar level from Tony Hawk, a lot of times there will be a part where there is like a translucent partition between you and the rest of the stage. So like you'll have to defeat a certain number of enemies in like half of the stage, and then you unlock the rest of it and more enemies appear. But I very rarely found it to be overwhelming with how many enemies there were, and you really can just kind of button mash on your main slash. Like, it's not hard to defeat enemies. The only ones that can be tricky are like the long grind rail ones that move around the map, and you have to approach pretty much from the only way I've really made it work is approaching them from the front, grinding on them, and then trying to attack every one of their heads as I go on. And usually I have to grind on them several times to be able to do enough damage to take them out. But yeah.
Okay. It's interesting. It's
Premise,
actually
though, yeah.
really hard to like picture all that just in my head. I want to see it in action.
Yeah.
It's giving me. Did either of you play Rollerdrome at all?
I did not, although that did look interesting.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's that's what it's giving me vibes of, because that came out not that long ago, a year or two ago, I think, and it's similar kind of thing where it's basically just roller skating rink area, sort of Tony Hawk style, except there's enemies and you have guns, so you're doing tricks and chaining, things, and while also shooting enemies, which will continue your combo and avoiding things so you don't die. And then it becomes a case of trying to get the best possible run, keep your modifier going all the way through, so you can basically just chain everything and do that and cash out high scores and such. And I remember I didn't play it myself, but I did see a bunch of it and go, damn, that's a pretty neat concept. So I feel like there's not that many skating games nowadays, especially now, the glory days of Tony Hawk are past us, save for the excellent remake. But yeah, it's just that style of game of run, do runs, do tricks, combo that with extra challenges and combat and such. It's just it's an interesting kind of loop of game that seems to be making an appearance, which, yeah, it's interesting. And combining that with roguelike elements further is intriguing. So
yeah.
Helskate, was it?
Yes, Helskate. It is available right now for $22.50 on Steam. And I have not actually looked at the feedback. The feedback right now on Steam is very positive. And they do also have a developer roadmap. So the immediate updates that they're going to get out is control remapping, classic skating camera relative controls, which I think is going to help the game a lot. Skating improvements from community feedback, and free skate. Then at launch, there's going to be Chapter 1, Escape from Wertheim, which is cool because there's not a ton of story right now, but there's 3 weapon decks: Soul Samurai, which is the one that you start with, Mjolnir, that hammer, and then Daggertron 1.0, which is like the Shuriken, yeah. Then 4 brand gear sets: Acid Press, Big Bomb brand, Deep Cuts, and Electric, which all have like different types of bonuses that they'll give you. And the spring update is footage quests, which I didn't talk about. Your best friend in Wertheim is the guy who wants to record your stuff. So he sends out his drone with a camera. That's one of the first things that you do after your first couple of deaths.
Speaking of thug, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. So footage quest, then they're going to add a new weapon deck, then they're going to add the Trickopedia, then they're going to add secret tapes and new mini bosses and more upgrades and trick tapes revision and new levels and a Yeti brand gear set with ice powers. Then in Q4 of 2024, they're going to add Chapter 2 of the story, new weapon deck, new enemies, new bosses, new mini bosses, more upgrades, NPC side quests, difficulty modifiers with a reward system. And then after Q4, at some point in the future, new weapon decks, new enemies, new mini bosses, new stickers, gear, tapes, and tattoos, new NPCs, and Chapter 3 of the story.
Cool.
So they have a long roadmap, and they've been developing this game for about 4 years. So
now, if the core fundamentals are good, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, the gameplay feels great. Like it's a lot of stuff. The only real problems I have with the game can be fixed.
No, good stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. Check it out.
No,
It
I
makes
wish
me
it ran
think
better on my
of,
fucking laptop, but
yeah.
Yeah, that's a real bummer.
because I'm about to be on a lot of trips and I would play it, but as it stands, I'm probably just going to be playing Persona 3 Reload.
Oh no, what a travesty! How will you ever survive this?
No,
I don't
so
know,
sad.
man. I don't know. But anyways,
There's also a couple other games kind of like this.
Yep.
I think are worth mentioning. Another one that's recent is Neon Tail.
Yep.
I feel like I've seen people talking about that a little bit. I'm not super familiar with. Then there's also a few months back, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which is kind of
I've
like
heard good things about that, yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the Jet Set Radio we never got and might actually, now get. I still never got
Yeah.
around to playing it though.
But it's like you're on a skateboard instead of skates, so it still kind of has that like Tony Hawk,
Yeah.
like control set to it. So
Yeah.
it's neat that people are sort of molding around with these formulas.
There's more exploration into lesser appreciated genres, particularly in the indie space, because
Yeah.
And given all the layoffs that we keep getting constantly throughout this year, there's going to be a lot of people who are probably going to go to that space and do that kind of thing. So support your indies, everyone. They're the only ones doing anything worth a damn nowadays.
Yeah. But
True.
yeah, I dig it. I think it's cool. And yeah, check it out. I forget what I was going to say. I was going to say something else, but I totally forgot about it. How dare
I'm
I?
sure it was some kind of awesome skate joke, and we would have been in hysterics.
Oh, you know what? You're right. It would have been.
Yeah, missed opportunity. Maybe one day.
One cool thing that I think I didn't mention, they actually sometimes will give you other things that you can do. So I actually got a double jump for a little while, which made navigating around even as like somebody on foot really interesting. So like I had a hard time making a jump. So it's like, okay, I'm just gonna jump out off of this ledge and then double jump and change directions and like get around this corner and then get to one of these little crow cameras or whatever. But anyways, check it out. Helskate, Helskate. Now, I got something else I can talk about, but I don't know how much you guys have as well.
What do you got, Lucas? I have very little aside from more Yakuza, and I'll keep it brief if I touch on it.
I guess I could talk a little bit about Qomp because it's kind of interesting, if not great. So this game came across my desk for Shack News. There's a review up as of this morning, I believe. I never really followed up. Love it when an embargo lifts at first thing Monday morning for so many different reasons. So there's this game, Qomp, Qomp. In this case, it's Qomp 2. And the premise is Pong, but the ball wants to escape. And it kind of takes on this like physics, obviously not platformer because you're a ball bouncing around, but it's almost like a Celeste or a Meat Boy type of thing, where you're in a room and the room has like its main puzzle or challenge or whatever, and you kind of have to navigate it. And then there's like spikes and hazards everywhere. And while I was playing it, I kind of felt like I was like missing something. So I ended up looking up what the deal with the first Qomp was, and things became so clear in a very small amount of time. Because the first Qomp is very much a like indie game made by like one dude.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's like the game starts, and I believe it may have even started on Newgrounds. I could be wrong. But it's like it's actually playing out a game of Pong. Every time the ball hits the paddle, it's got the little like Qbert profanity thing. It's like clearly the ball is like super pissed off, and then it escapes. And you go through these puzzle rooms, but it's got these like really kind of eerie vibes to it. and it's
like
very
you're not supposed to be there.
Yeah, it's almost like you're in like video game hell because you breached the boundaries of Pong, and now there's like skulls and
You're in the
like,
back rooms. Good job.
Yeah, spikes everywhere, other like strange creatures, and you're just this Pong ball, and you can only change. The only input you have is you can change your trajectory 90 degrees. So like if you're going down forward, you can kind of go up, but you can't turn around. You have to like bounce off of a corner or whatever to actually turn around. And a lot of the puzzles are really built with that in mind in the first Qomp. And the ball moves kind of like at a certain cadence, and it's very much like, okay, there's like these little paths, and like here's the puzzle, and I can kind of like understand what I'm supposed to do. And if I mess up, I'm either dead, or I can kind of like zip back around and kind of
reset your approach, try again.
Yeah, exactly. And you go through, and like the vibes kind of get a little more like almost wistful, and it kind of ends with like the sort of rules of the space collapsing, and the puzzles getting more abstract and unpuzzle like, till eventually you do escape, and it's this almost kind of like I don't know, poetic for lack of a better word, moment where you're supposed to just not touch the controls anymore, and then the ball eventually like figures out how to escape, and then the game's over. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It brings a tear to my eye.
Right. So of course, what happens apparently is that Atari is like, oh, that's like Pong. So we're going to buy the rights to Qomp from you, little indie guy, and we're going to make Qomp 2, and you're not going to make it. We're going to make it. We're going to hire some other studio. And so it's like, it does the vibes, and it does the same kind of setup, but it's like taking an idea someone came up with, where they kind of like wanted to, even if it's a silly premise, they kind of had like a mood they wanted to portray, and they had like a punchline for that. And then it's like, here's the corporation that comes in and grabs it, and it's like, oh, we can do that. And they just kind
without
of like
understanding why, without ever thinking about it. It's the inverse of what I said earlier about we don't create in a vacuum. It's like, yeah, iteration and development and such from creatives will eventually lead to it, because there's the creative thought put into how do we do that? How do we take it further? What works, what doesn't?
Yeah.
The corporations don't have that. They just go, money.
Yeah. There's like, do it and do it bigger with more levels and bigger.
With an explosion, Michael Bay in the background somewhere.
Which
with
is
more
the whole
overt Atari references, of course.
Yeah,
naturally.
It's the whole thing with AI, where it's just like, okay, you made a piece of art, but it's screwed up, and not in a human way. It's screwed up because you don't actually understand why we're doing any of this, and also there's no soul to any of this art.
Yeah.
So it is a shame, but
cheap and diminishing returns.
This is what happens when we give in to the temptation to make the line go up, which I to get real for a moment, is a lie we tell ourselves. That is not possible. Like,
it can't.
There's a I forget what song it is, but there's a song by Muse where there is a
unsustainable.
Yeah. Where what is it? A society
isolated system and unsustainable. It's two
yeah,
parts, but
an isolated system. Bent on endless growth is just unsustainable. Like it's not. Earth is a closed system. Like, I mean, it's not a true closed system, because sometimes we do get asteroids that land here, which is how we get stuff like Mercury. But for all intents and purposes, it is a closed system with a finite number of resources, and endless growth in a closed system like that is not possible. So when people tell you, oh, we always have to increase revenue, we always have to increase profits, that is not real.
Yeah.
And
we all know the lie.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Most of us, especially nowadays, as this has become increasingly clear, we know the lie.
Yeah.
We can see the lie. We can see it for what it is. The problem is still just a case of actually doing something about it because it feels too much, too large, or whatever. And that's why, it's important that we actually, spread this information and say, hey, this cannot continue. Group up, push against this. Because otherwise it's just going to continue as it has.
And one way to do that on a small scale is to do what we've been talking about doing, which is support your indie game developers, because indie game developers a lot of times are, one, trying to make something creative out of some inborn need to tell a story. I made this podcast because I needed to get out my thoughts. I needed to express what I thought about certain things to you, our dear listeners and viewers. And I surrounded myself with people that feel the same, who have a lot of thoughts, want to talk about it, want to increase the discussions that happen around certain types of games. And that's the way that artists have always been. Now, I'm not saying what we're doing here is art in a strict sense. I think there is an interpretation of art where it is, but I'm also a musician. I'm also a songwriter. And that is me feeling like I need to get something out and I need to talk about it. And a lot of indie developers are that same way. They have ideas. They're like, oh man, I think it'd be really cool if somebody made a Tony Hawk game where you could also attack demons. And then they made it. And that's cool. They didn't do it because that was like going to be the next Fortnite and it was going to print them money. It was like, this is something, it's like the people at Larian. They're like, we wanted to play the next Baldur's Gate, so we wanted to make the next Baldur's Gate so we could play it. And then they did, And when you move up to get to like the EAs and stuff like that, you've got shareholders to please and it needs to be profitable. And that's where you get into these sorts of situations where it's like, well, we're doing it because we can do it and because we feel like it would probably behoove us financially to do it. But that doesn't necessarily mean, unless you can get somebody to come in and really feel the vision and really have like some passion for it, which is where you get people like Kojima and other people like that even at very large scale projects, there is a lot of weird shit in Death Stranding because Kojima is a fucking weirdo and that's why we love him, but there
are still creatives even at places like EA and such. Yeah. It's just a case of they are constantly butting heads with the executive class that is only concerned with the numbers. And that's it. They're like, you make the pitch and it's like, can we make a ton of money off this? And then they'll say, yeah, sure. And then the creatives can maybe go and do something with that. Maybe not. And
it's like,
you see,
there's Elden Ring and there's Helldivers. Games that should not be as big as they are. Like because they do not care about you, but that's what's funny. Like, so it's like it's one of those situations where it's like, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. You know what I mean? Like the Helldivers team would have made very different choices if they were trying to make money. They would have made very different choices, but they didn't because they wanted to make this game. And that's why I'm going to tell you to get out there and support Super Earth, even though it's difficult to get on the servers and stuff like that. But anyways, all that I don't want to
support the hyper-capitalist fascists by
support.
Wait a second.
Support the fake ones. Support the
fake ones.
The fake hyper-capitalist fascists.
The ones depicted by creatives for the sake of a laugh.
Yes.
Support those ones.
Support
not
those
the real
ones, not the real ones. But know the difference, dear listener. But yeah. Anyways, I didn't want to get super big into that, but I do think that is worth saying because it's like,
we kind of tangented off your review there.
Sigyl I Am says, the propaganda machine is in full swing. Fine. I'm going to the one place not corrupted by capitalism. Spy! Wait. Oh, no.
Wait, nope. Oh, God.
God,
Curry was wrong.
Tim Curry is the GOAT. Too. Yeah.
You're right, though. And
Tim Curry's
I think the weird thing about a situation like this is like you're never going to know what actually happened. Like, it's easy to say, well, why didn't you just give the original guy a pile of money to do another one? And the answer could be all kinds of things. And,
maybe he didn't want to. Maybe he
Exactly.
had different ideas.
And I hope they made out like a fucking bandit. I hope that they got paid a ton of money and they're really pleased to be able to, you know, maybe retire or at least have enough money to make like whatever next thing that they want to do. But
yeah. And like ultimately, like people were hired to make this game, and I'm sure they tried their best to do a good job. But like another point about the game itself is like I mentioned the speed of the ball and the angle trajectory and everything. What you can really tell where they missed the point is the ball in the second one moves at like half the speed, and for the sake of having more stuff, they also made like a boost thing where you like charge it, and then the ball kind of lurches forward for like half a second. And so the puzzles, of course, are bigger and more complicated to compensate. But you constantly ended up in this situation where it's like, oh, I missed where I wanted to go. Now I have to watch this fucking ball at half the speed go across the screen so I can hit the corner and turn back around in the direction I wanted to go. Whereas in the first game, first game it would just be like boop, 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 and then I'm back where I wanted to be because it's like designed around the ball moving in the little spaces to make the puzzle rooms. Of course, it's like, oh, it needs to be bigger. It's a sequel. It needs to be more complicated, but also easier for people to play so the ball doesn't move as fast. So now I just have to watch it every time I make a mistake. And it's just like, I wanted to scream every time I messed up. For the last game, it's like, oh, I'm dead. Okay, it's just another Meat Boy on the wall or whatever. So it's like, you got the assignment. The assignment was taken from someone for some reason or other, given to these other people. Do this, they do it, and it's just like, unfortunately, like, just such a swing and a miss. It
didn't land.
Yeah, not at all. And it's a shame. Because like it's got its moments. It's got this like fishbowl lens thing going on, and there's like, it's still minimalist visually, but there is more detail. So like video game Atari basement hell looks even creepier sometimes, but it just feels. I think I compared it to Sharknado in the review at one point. It was like, you know, here's a funny corruption of a popular thing, and then it works on some level, and then immediately like the corpo guy comes in and takes it and puts it on a conveyor belt and is like, do it again.
Make me another Sharknado.
Yeah.
The Sharknado will continue.
The Sharknadoes will continue until morale improves.
So it just feels very cynical, and it really bummed me out when it was like, I'm going to take a break from this because I don't think I'm getting it. I'll play the first one because it's like $2 on Steam or whatever. And I had so much more fun.
Figures.
And then it was over, and then I had to go back to the second one, and he's like, oh, this is just not. It's not it.
Yeah, sounds like the first one had its point, made its point, did it concisely, got in, got out before it overstayed its welcome. Whereas 2 does not sound like even close to that.
No. Yeah, it's weird because like,
an interesting touch point though.
Yeah, like Atari, like it's what Atari's like a ship of Theseus, right? Like it's
there's nothing nothing
it's been
remains
ship of Theseus
of Atari.
like 4 times. So.
There's like 4 ships. But the current iteration of Atari seems to be like being more playful with the IP than other Ataris of the past.
They're at least attempting. So yeah,
they're doing
Aren't they also the ones responsible for all of like the rearmed or recharged variants that keep going up on Epic Games? Yeah, I think those are great. Like that's really cool.
Yeah, they're doing that. There's like a Pong themed RPG. There's like a lot
of those
Atari
are included
themed...
in Amazon Prime like Twitch tie-ins right now. You can get like 4 of those games on Epic Games right now.
That's awesome.
Which is why I was thinking about that. Yeah. I got Black Widow recharged way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
There's also like not Joust. God, what was the other one? Anyways,
I think there's a Berserk one.
Like maybe like a missile defend, like one.
Missile Command.
Yeah, Missile Command recharged or rearmed or whatever. There's like a bunch of those that are out now, which is cool.
Yeah, there's Atari Mania, which is like a WarioWare kind of thing with Atari stuff. And then I'm pretty sure they like hooked up with Digital Eclipse and did like a Atari collection like all the other ones, but it has more of like a museum vibe with like documentary footage and stuff, which I think is a really good, like, you know, if you're going to do another collection of Atari ports, at least, you know, treat it like kind of venerable.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely
from
like
the software preservation angle, which
there is effort from this current Atari, so it's a shame to see this one kind of feel a little icky in that way. But
shame.
Yeah, that's what I played.
They lean too hard into the Konami.
I'm really curious to know where this next discussion is going to go. Because I have not talked to you about this at all.
I know I missed the podcast and then you were gone and it was just like,
well, yeah. And Chris, like I think we were running out of time that week. And so he was just like, well,
I specifically said,
wait, and don't talk about this until we get Lucas on the show. And now here we are. So it's time to talk about Granblue Fantasy Relink.
Hell yeah. It's time for some side games.
I've been converted over to the Granblue way, and I feel like Chris is the same.
I want to get into it, but infinite wealth. It's infinite and wealth
because of Rising. Like Rising has been so great, and it's very interesting because I will say straight up, playing both Relink and Rising at the same time is very interesting, and I am very pleased with the synergy because I'm playing characters in one game and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go check you out in the other game. You know, unfortunately my main character in Granblue Rising, the fighting game, is not playable.
He's a Rising exclusive because he's the villain of that game.
Yeah.
So
I play Belial in Granblue Rising. He's not the only character that I play. You know, I started playing Zeta and Seox and Siegfried, and then I abandoned Siegfried, and then I started getting into Gran, and because he has like an outfit where he looks like Ramza from Final Fantasy Tactics, and I got into that, and then I started playing Granblue Relink, and because you were playing Gran, I played Jita, and now I'm like, I need to play Jita in Rising because she is so cool. And I was actually reading up on the characters in the fighting game, and apparently she has a better fireball game than Gran does, and her normals are longer, which I typically go for in games. Like I typically like to be like a mid-range thing, and apparently I don't know why, because I think she's shorter than Gran. But her sword arm is just longer. Like her attacks just have more range. So I really haven't played that much of Gran. I did play a little bit of Gran in Relink, but I have mainly just been playing Jita through the whole game. So I believe I am like between 5 and 6 hours into the game. And I've played like the first 5 or 6 chapters, I think. I think I either am still in the little ice area or I just got past that.
Okay.
So I'm like several bosses through. I don't know how much you've done or if you did like a full review so you've already beaten it or whatever.
Yeah, I've played through the story entirely.
Okay. I'm not sure how... My understanding is it's not that long, so I might be like halfway through the game or something.
I would say you're right around halfway.
Okay.
It is very efficient.
Yeah. Which I like. I like a lot. Like when I found out, I was playing through it and I found out, I think I saw somebody say, maybe it was on How Long to Beat. It was like 10 to 12 hours or something like that. I was like, oh, you got my attention.
I spend more time on a single chapter of Infinite Wealth than that entire game.
Yeah. Yeah. So I I really appreciate that, but let's get into the nitty gritty. Lucas, because you have like kind of the bird's eye view, can you take us through like what this game is and kind of explain it, and then let's talk about what we think of it after that.
Yeah. So it feels important to mention Granblue like original briefly, just because like
Sure, yeah. From a story standpoint, yeah.
Yeah, because this game kind of really, I don't want to say it assumes that you've played the original, but it doesn't really care that much if you haven't, I guess is a better way to put it. Because it dumps you right in. It's just like, hey, here's all your friends, and if you don't know them, then well, they're your friends now. So
you'll meet them further as you go.
Yeah. So it's like it starts out and the whole crew is together. It's like the main story characters, and man, I'm realizing I'm bad at names. But it's Gran, it's Catalina, it's Gunman, who's voiced by Sanji from One Piece. It's older Gunman.
Oh my god.
Rackham?
Rackham, and then Yugen,
Rackham.
I think, is the other guy's name. Yugen is like the older guy with the eye patch. And then there's Lyria, who's the blue-haired young girl who can control summons. Or at least one. She's got Proto-Bahamut, which is like, I mean, come on, if you can only summon...
She can speak to them, though, which is the part of the major plot, I think.
Okay.
She's like the number 2 character. Basically, like, the original story starts out where...
Which I will say, hold on, before you get into this, I do think it's important to note, I am not familiar with Granblue beyond the fighting game and this, and I have not played the fighting game story because I wasn't reviewing it. I got it as a Christmas present, so I've just been fighting and haven't engaged with the story basically at all. Apart from the interactions that characters have had in arcade mode, which are pretty minimal.
Or the intro dialogue. Between characters. So like, I think that it's really interesting that I went into this and I feel like it's fine. Like, there's one thing that I think is important to note that I want to get into in a second, but even coming to it from somebody who's like passingly familiar with these characters or some of their names, and like even the characters in the fighting game are like, I'm guessing a small percentage of the ones that are in like the greater Granblue universe. I actually found it very easy to kind of like just... It felt kind of like coming in halfway through a season of Seinfeld, where it's just like, if you don't really know what's going on, but you very quickly get a feeling for like the relationships all these characters have. So I'm really curious to know your perspective on it. But between that and the fact that as you level up, there's this mechanic in the town where you can go and watch these background videos for your characters that are level gated, and when you finish watching one of these videos, they'll give you stat ups for those characters. And I'm like, that is awesome, because they explain like the origins of these characters. So like how Gran or Jita is connected to Lyria, and like all this other, like what happened with Catalina and stuff. So like, I do not feel lost really, which I think is really impressive given how wild this world seems to be. But I'm really curious to know what you think about that. And sorry for jumping in there. I just wanted to like make it very clear. I'm not experienced in this.
Yeah, no problem. It's really good actually, because I think that one of the major factors of like Cygame's success over the years is like their creative people have a really really firm grasp on just like making very elegant and appealing characters. Like they're simple, but they're not just walking tropes. But they're really easy to like get along with and understand. And they just kind of throw a group of them together.
It's easy to pass them visually as well. Like you see a character, you recognize that character.
There's only one Seox.
The art is very colorful and very expressive. It looks unique. They don't just look like, anime characters from whatever show. Because
Io doesn't look like Catalina, who doesn't look like Zeta, who doesn't look like Jita. Yeah.
So it's very easy to kind of understand and just sort of be inserted into the group. And part of that is like even in the original, like it's a gacha mobile game. So like you have your like main handful of people, but then otherwise it's just a massive group of people who just come and go as relative to
depending on your pulls. Yeah,
exactly. Which is also where the thing you mentioned comes in is the Fate episodes, which is directly lifted from the original. You get a character by pulling, and then as you use that character, you can go through their little visual novel style story, and it gives you like the background of who that character is. And that character may never show up in the main story, but you still kind of get to understand who they are, what they're about, and
why they would tag along with Gran and Co.
Yeah, and so it helps be like, okay, well, this character's not important all the time, but I dug their vibe and their look and their story, so I'm gonna, I'm happy that I pull them. Yada yada.
It also helps me understand why people in the fighting game are like, "Yo, when are we getting Rackham in the game?" Because like he's really fun and cool. Like
he's even in the story mode, like not.
Yeah, he's like like the number 3 or number 4 guy. Like he is part of the main crew.
Yeah, he's the captain. He's the helmsman. He owns the ship. And it's an airship. It's a floating sky island setting. You need a ship.
Yeah, and he's Sanji. Like you can tell.
Yeah.
This is where I bow out of this discussion. I'm not talking about One Piece.
But it's One Piece.
I mean, he said it earlier, which is the only reason I know.
Yeah, okay.
But
yeah, there's just some of those people have really distinct voices, even among other. Anyways, yeah. So like it I think for me, I was a little like, oh, what's going on here? Because I couldn't tell if it was like an adaptation of part of the story or an original story or a sequel or what. I'm pretty sure now it's all original. But I still I reserve the right to be wrong. Yeah, so like to your point, like it throws you in, but it isn't like, and then here's the presence of years of lore missing that you immediately feel. It's like you're onboarded in a different way just by kind of like hanging out with people.
Context
like there's a benefit to that. So like, because I know, and even then, like, because I haven't played the story in Granblue Rising, like I kind of know who Belial is, but like I don't really know. So like there was a clip where like in Relink where like they never mention him, but like you just see him, like you see him in like a little moment when the heroes are going by, and I'm like, oh shit, like that's not going to be good for anybody. But like that's the only, they infer that based on like the kind of dramatic camera angle that they adopt. So it's like, I mean, I know who that is, but like beyond knowing who they are and how dangerous they are, you'd be able to understand, like based on the framing of the shot, like somebody is following them. This is not going to be good, probably, But so yeah, I think it's just like it adds a little bit of more context, a little bit of depth. But I feel like like the Cygames team definitely does seem to be deftly maneuvering in this space, which is something that you really can't say for a lot of like multi-genre, multi-platform, long-running stories, because it's like you got some long-running stories like the longest story in games in Tekken, and it's like, well, this has really always just been on PlayStation. And then there's some other stuff where it's just like, okay, well, we've got Metal Gear, and like there's some Metal Gear gotchas, but like we really don't know anything about those stories, and they don't really have anything to do with it. And this seems like a much more cohesive thing, but they all kind of work, interdependently of each other in a pretty impressive way, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, and the main story itself has been so popular that it's just been adapted to different. So there's a manga and there's an anime. Both of those were like localized and released in like normal venues over here.
Do you happen to know who did the anime?
I'll look that up while you keep talking.
I don't know.
Because I was just curious, because I'm just like this. Like, to me, your mileage may vary. Like I find Relink to be a really fun game. Like it's very, it's very interesting because I feel like you can boil it down to its most basic, and it is just kind of like a hacky and slashy action RPG that's like very simple, but it has so many little wrinkles. Like it's not doing anything revolutionary, but it's like several steps beyond Sea of Stars, where it's just like, we're just going to add like 10 really interesting little wrinkles that make basically everything more interesting. Like the way that like chain attacks happen, the way that link attacks happen. Like you're going to do your basic mash square, then mash triangle and dodge or block. And like, that's really straightforward, but there's enough stuff where it's like, we're getting our sync meter up, and then we're going to do link attacks, and then we're going to do chain attacks. And then if we do enough chain attacks, we'll get a full burst. And then we're going to, I've got like Ragenlev, which is like my projectile. And then I've got like armor break. So it's like, I'm going to do the one thing, I'm going to do the other thing. And I'm going to keep like building up enough energy so that I do them at higher levels that deal more stuff. It's just like, there's all these little wrinkles that are all over the place. And because they have so many of those, and the fact that this game is not very long, I feel like really puts it in like, this is gonna be a weird comparison, but this is the first thing that came to my mind. It's kind of like a really good Marvel movie, like a top 2/3 Marvel movie. Like, one of my favorites is Winter Soldier, which has something important to say,
which is correct. Yes.
Yeah. And like it has like hard moments, but I'm not thinking about stuff like that. I'm thinking more like, I don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy or something like that, where it's just like, it's not really trying to like say anything. It's just trying to be a really great popcorn flick, and it just nails it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I feel about this game. Like it's not trying to be Baldur's Gate 3. It's not trying to be Devil May Cry. It's trying to be like, and it's not trying to be Dragon Quest. It's like somewhere in the middle of all these things, but it's like, it knows when to get in and get out. And like
it's shallow in a literal sense, right? But it's super polished. There's tons of like care and attention to detail into.
Dude, even at the lowest graphical settings, like the effects are just out of control.
Yeah, and one of the great things about the onboarding is like something it like, and hits you with the premise is like, oh, this girl can like summon things, and then immediately that goes wrong, and there's a giant dragon attacking your ship and it's just this incredible set piece.
Which, by the way, can we talk about how the Grand Cypher takes just the absolute shit can of a beating every 5 minutes? I'm like, bro, all right. Like, literally,
I'm pretty sure that's true of the Gatcher as well.
That ship cannot get a break.
Dude, when I tell you, like, the first thing that happens is this ship gets the absolute shit beaten out of it. And then you immediately take it to a place to get repaired. And then you wander around and you meet some people and you get your equipment repaired and upgraded and stuff. And then you go out on it again and it immediately gets the fucking shit beat out of it again. And I'm like, dude, how are any of us still alive? Like, this is out of control.
The second time's even cooler because you're like in a sky battle with other ships and you're like jumping back and forth between
them. It was like Pirates of the Caribbean 3. Like,
in the sky.
We're swirling around this maelstrom and we're locking these things and we're all jumping across, and it's like, it's crazy.
It gets really creative with the set piece moments. Later on you'll get to a desert kind of area, and tell me when you get there, because man, stuff happens there.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is one of those that where like, this is another one of, and this is even more true than of Helskate. This game does not want to run on my laptop. Like, I literally went to the lowest settings, the lowest resolution. I'm literally playing it at 720 on my gaming laptop, and like, it usually runs pretty good, but then it'll just absolutely slow to a crawl.
The particle effects kick in and your fans kick out.
And you can't turn them off. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's, it's part of it is like, it's really impressive that even on the lowest graphical settings, it still looks really great. But unfortunately, I need it to look a little bit less great so that it runs well. But yeah, like playing it on my desktop, like it's runs like a dream and it looks incredible. And it's like real fun. Like the you talk about set pieces, fighting that wind elemental thing where it's just like a bullet that's like going through and like destroying the environment as you're going through. I'm just like, bro, can I have some of you play this game and like learn from this and do this sort of stuff when I'm playing like, Final Fantasy 16? Hello?
I was going to say there's a lot of parts that are really reminiscent of 16 in that kind of blockbuster set piece way, but way more like, anime like.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot of the same kind of vibes to it for sure.
But because it's not an open world game, it feels a lot better and it looks a lot better because everything's like really dialed in. So you don't have all this empty space distracting you from the fact that there's like not that much going on because it's going on in a very focused space, which was my biggest problem with 16. It's just like, bro, this game should have been
long dialogue shot, reverse shot. It's like,
this game should have been a fourth the surface area. Like just chop it up. Like just give me more focus. It should have been like 12, like in those like types of areas. Like it shouldn't have been. I don't know. Open world fatigue is like a thing. We've talked about this so much. I don't want to rehash it and stuff like that. But anyways, please continue.
Yeah, so I wanted to go back to what you were talking about earlier with like the little things it does. Like you mentioned dodging, and it's like it goes through the effort of not just like, okay, here's your dodge button, but it's like you can dodge up to 3 times. Each dodge is slightly different, almost like Mario doing his triple jump in Mario 64.
Yeah.
You can dodge in the air too, and there's different recovery depending on where you are and what you're doing. And it's just like, you can even use the dodge to like kind of hack a double jump in some cases, and even it encourages you to. And it's just like those little like extra rules, like the extra thought they put into otherwise simple things. And then every character, you mentioned like they have their hack and slash controls, but almost every single character plays by its own set of rules. In really noticeably different ways, like especially like if you go from Gran to like Rockham, who just uses his gun, his controls are just completely different. And then go down.
I've played like 5 hours of this game. I think I've only ever played as the captain. I've never played as anybody else. So
you should swap characters, because like seriously, like even just going to Catalina, who also uses a sword, like her kit is completely different. And and then you go down the list of like the characters you can unlock who have even like weirder shit going on.
Yeah, I unlocked Zeta because I played her in the game, so I was like, I need to play it. I need to have her on my team. I didn't know you could play as her, so I'll definitely have to do that.
Oh yeah, her whole thing is like you can do sustained air dive kicks where like she launches herself up in the air, and then dives, and then if you do the timing right, you can just do it over and over.
1,000-yard stare right now. Oh no,
Chris, get ready to get pogoed on, baby. Get ready to get pogoed on, and if I hit you with my ultimate ability, get ready to take 60+% damage. We need to play Granblue Rising more.
We do need to play that more. We've been diving too much. What can I say?
It's true.
But like I played Fairy a lot because I really like Fairy.
Fairy is great.
She doesn't even really have like a combo per se. She's got like she does a couple of whip hits, or you can hold the button and she'll like just keep it out there. But when she does
like Simon Belmont.
Yeah, kind of. But her whole thing is like she has her dog ghost that she summons.
Yeah.
But like you do like damage with her basic stuff, and that sort of gives you like ending the combos in certain ways will bring a dog out, and they come out temporarily and they will kind of extend off of your attacks, but then they also have their own commands that you can do. And there's commands that you can do to call them, commands that you can do to use them. Stuff you can do to use all 3 of them. And so it's like her basic combat isn't hack and slashy at all. they still use all the same buttons, but it's just like a totally different set of rules that you're playing with.
You're
Chris,
playing V from DMC5.
Chris, we gotta get Lucas into Rising. We gotta get him playing Fairy in that game. We gotta do it.
I know. I do need more Fairy. I actually went and started playing the mobile game a little bit, and was hoping Fairy would be a story character, but I don't believe it's the case. I'm very disappointed.
Shame.
So I have to gotcha her somehow.
Shame. But you can play as her in that game, and she's a lot of fun. She's also kind of like Dalsum from Street Fighter, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
A lot of reach.
Yeah, she's ridiculous. She's ridiculous. Very, very cool. And she looks dope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I dig it.
It's so much fun. And like we were saying, like, it's short.
I desperately wish it ran on my laptop well.
Yeah, I want to try it on like my Ally here and see if it works handheld.
I'm super curious about that. If anybody has a Steam Deck or an Ally or something like that, and has access to Relink, I really want to know how it runs, because at this point, really my only two options are get a new gaming laptop, which is going to take me forever to save up for, or get a Steam Deck and then just get like a really slim, lightweight laptop and then just use it for like writing or whatever, and then just do that. And I'm not really sure. I know which one would be more cost effective, because you can get like a really basic laptop for like $100 or $200, and then you can get a Steam Deck for like not that much. So it'd probably be cheaper for me to do that, but I'm really curious if games like that are starting to not run on my laptop would run well on Steam Deck or another like handheld PC. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's always going to be a degree of tinkering with those things. Generally speaking, like with my Ally, I think I have a better time than on the Steam Deck. But there's always going to be tinkering that you'll have to do on a game-by-game basis. This is what it is. Gosh, train of thought. Right, so it's a short game, but there are huge chunks of it that are basically taped off for after you finish the story. That I've been curious about, because I didn't really have a chance to really dive into the post game, but there's like whole like weapon upgrading systems that you barely get to touch before the story's over. So it's short in terms of the campaign, but it's meaty, and there's multiplayer that I don't know how healthy it is or not, but it seems like they kind of wanted to try to do like a not quite Monster Hunter, almost like, I don't know if you ever played
God Eater.
Yeah, like God Eater, or like a Ragnarok Odyssey, if that means anything to other people.
Or maybe, God, what was it? Freedom Wars or something like that.
Yeah, kind of.
White Knight Chronicles.
We can keep spitting out examples, Lucas. You just got to tell us to shut up so we can move on.
Yeah, I think we got it.
I will say, while you've been talking about this, I've just been getting Steam notifications, and literally 4 different people in the time we've been talking about it booted up Granblue Fantasy Relink on my friends list. Like, what the fuck?
Really?
Right? Literally 4 different people at various points during this discussion.
I thought you were going to say Helldivers or something. I did not expect that.
No. I expected more Helldivers. I only saw like one of those.
Yeah, it's not doing like Helldivers numbers, but it did hit 1 million copies very quickly for a game that's like niche. Yeah. Granblue,
I know those friends, they're weebs, so
yeah.
I mean, even so, like I've seen chatter about it from like outside the sicko circles.
Yeah.
It's a cool property. Like, it's a shame.
It's super flashy, so I get that it vibes with people, because like even if you just see a very brief clip, like I saw this on the show floor at PAX West. I know I've said this several times, but like it really caught my attention, and that was before I ever played the fighting game, and I was just like, bro, this looks like really good. What is this? Like,
yeah, the art style captures you instantly.
Yeah.
Just both stylistically and the presentation they put into making it look like it does. It really pops, even though it's relatively straightforward fantasy stuff. Good, but like carried by the art. But well done. I mean, well done.
If you look at like the mobile game, the art is really distinct.
It stands out. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like that same style, but it's more like hand drawn looking. It almost looks like a really detailed paintings, like all the character portraits.
I believe those are what they use for the key art for the characters in the fighting game.
Yeah, a lot. It's very similar. Like when you're decorating your card and you get all like the individual art styles and stuff, most of those are, very similar to what's in the game. So
that's awesome.
Here, let me look this up and I'll shoot it over to you, Lucas, and you can confirm that.
Cool. Speaking of looking things up, I did actually look up 2 seasons of the anime. First animated by A1, the second by Mappa, which is a big deal.
Mappa,
right
yeah.
Oh, right on. Yeah, while you're looking that up, it's worth mentioning that, like, if you, either of you guys or listeners, are interested in the original, it is not something that you can just play easily on your phone, but it is in English. And it's has a very excellent localization. So it's very bizarre that you can't just get it on the App Store or whatever. But if you go over to shacknews.com, I have a guide on how to get it set up.
Lucas here to save you.
Yeah. If you have an Android device, it's very easy. If you don't, you can use something called BlueStacks, which is a very functional Android emulator. And yeah, it's a gacha game, very old gacha game. So it's got, caveats, but it does have really cool art, great music.
And you can play like mainline story stuff, which is pretty solid. Yeah. And doesn't require you grinding ridiculous amounts or anything to get.
Yeah, some of these systems are overwhelming.
Esoteric. You'll take a bit, but whatever.
Yeah, exactly. You can, most of the time you can press sort my shit for me automatically, please, and the game will do what it needs to do to get you through the story.
Nice. So Lucas, I put in the platformers chat, I put like some of the art, so you can tell me if that is kind of what it looks like in the mobile game or what have you. Like that is the character art that comes up when you select Seox in the game.
Oh yeah, that's definitely reminiscent of the style in the original game.
But yeah, gorgeous, sure. Just absolutely ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, so if you like the way that looks, the original game is just that in a visual novel style with some very Final Fantasy III remake style sprites in battle. It's a very specific call out, but the artist is the same guy.
I understood that reference.
Yeah.
And one thing I just became aware of, and at the same time, Sigyl I Am posted about in the chat, is that the 1.12 update for Granblue Fantasy versus Rising is out, which means 2B from Nier Automata.
I saw the trailer.
I
haven't watched it yet. I'm worried, but the sickos are going to be in force.
Yeah. Oh, you better believe. When I saw how far her giant sword reached, I was like, it's time. It's time. We're going to see what
2B happens. Or not 2B? No, it's definitely 2B.
Yeah.
It's weird that we have like several different versions of 2B drawn by Akihiko Yoshida for like several different games that aren't Nier games.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? Very funny.
They like to make money, so they're going to keep putting 2B in different games.
Even though A2 is objectively better.
Yes,
fight people
thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. I was about to say, even though I don't like... I do not like a... well, anyways, I'm not going to get
better
specific.
And more important than the story.
2B is fine, but A2 is better. Yeah.
But anyways, with all that said, we should probably get out of here so we can play 2B and all that sort of stuff. Oh, Sigyl I Am says,
me, most of it.
Yeah, me clinging to Matera. Good luck. I'm hiding behind 3 projectile specials. It's like, yeah, that is true. But also, I mean, come on, Matera. Like, come on. If people are talking about 2B, they clearly haven't seen Matera. Like, come on.
Oh, goodness.
Come on, people.
The Zona to end all Zonas.
But anyways, any final thoughts before we bounce?
2B is $8.
Yeah, the season pass is like $50, which I bought, and it comes with all those characters, but then it also comes with like the Ramza outfit for.
That's the only reason you bought it, though. Let's be real.
It is true. It is true. It is.
Have you played Lucilius? Probably not. Don't care. Not.
I actually have not. I think maybe I played Lucilius for like a second, but yeah, no.
I know what it's about. I know.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see
what happens.
Oh, also, if you play Granblue Fantasy on your mobile device of choice and you play Relink and or Rising, you can get codes for both of those games that you can take into the mobile game for cosmetics for your main character.
Oh,
neat.
Yeah. They get a drip upgrade in Relink that you can bring back to the original. It's pretty cool.
Nice. Is there a third one, or is there just the first one that you get, like early on?
I think it's just the one outfit change.
Okay, cool. I like it way better than the first one. Specifically, for Jita. Gran didn't look that different to me, but Jita looks different, and I really dig it. Which is,
It's funny, Gran's whole thing is like he gets just absolutely murked by a monster right away in the beginning before he can even be important, and then Lyria brings him back to life, and then they're like connected or whatever. And just he just looks like a jabroni. You know what I mean? He's just like wearing pants and like
that is
a third of a suit of armor.
That is so funny that you say that, because the first thought I had when I saw Gran was like, if I was in a fantasy world, that's what I would look like. That's literally just me.
Yeah,
I'd be like, I got my baggy brown pants on with some armored boots or shin guards, and then I got like my hoodie on, and then I'll put like a chest plate over it. I'm good.
Yeah, with a little short sword that looks like a
and you're hanging out with your friends, but you got to fight in a war later on.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing.
Yeah. I do need to check out this fighting game. I enjoyed the original, and I'm upset that I can't like upgrade it. But oh well.
But the good news is you can play the free version, and you have access to almost everything, except like you'll just have a rotating cast of characters. But that's how we get you in the door. First one's free.
Got me in the door.
Yeah.
Forgot about the wrestling lady. She's so cool.
La Diva?
Yeah.
I really don't want to fight somebody who's playing her, but I think I actually do know somebody who's like super good. Oh yeah, I fought in a Golden Weeklies against a La Diva and got my friggin' teeth kicked in.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But that was before I was playing Belial. That was back when I was alternating between Seox and Zeta, before I knew who I was going to play. So
fair.
But yeah.
I just love hearing that a grappler that's actually like based on a wrestling style is good in a game.
Yeah.
It almost never happens.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. Anyways, let's get out of here.
All right.
It's been I tell you what, this episode was not 1 hour. So there you go. I hope you enjoy, because I might be I'm going to be out of town handling some stuff for a little bit.
Yeah, for the foreseeable future, I'll probably be back in the first chair from the coming weeks, but I'll try and get something up there. Streaming duties may be a little spotty. We will see. Australian internet's not good enough for that. But yeah, I am at the very least taking over the editing duties for at least the time being. So,
and I really appreciate you stepping up to do that. I always love it when I am absent and the show continues. So I appreciate that. And I wish you boys a very fun time in my absence.
I'll be envious of you rocking the Capcom Cup. So
yeah, which I'll get to shortly.
You just have to call in while you're there. We'll do a podcast.
I'm here on the show floor with the
with hotel internet.
Yeah,
live from the losers bracket.
Yeah. Anyways, I mean that's a stone cold fact. That's great. It was harsh, but it was true, and I don't worry about it.
I'm sorry, Brian.
Hey, no. I deserve that, and it is true. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to Capcom Cup to compete, because that would be a very short-lived. That'll be a very short-lived thing. But yeah,
It'd be a day trip, not a vacation.
It would be a day trip. That's very true. I'll be like, all right, well, that was 10 minutes, which was 10 minutes longer than I expected to survive. So let's get out of here and get some burgers. But anyways, if you guys have any thoughts or topics of discussion you want us to talk about, any games you want us to cover, hit us up. You can find me at Ribnax on Twitter, which is RIBNAX. You can find me at Blue Sky and on Backlogged, where I log the games that I'm playing and do little micro reviews. You can find me there at Brian Barnett, Brian with an I and Barnett with 2 T's. And you can watch the show either live at twitch.tv/Ribnax or on VOD at youtube.com/@Ribnax. Like we said, I'm going to Capcom Cup. I am going to be covering Capcom Cup for GameSpot. I'm going to be going there. I'm going to be interviewing the game director and the producer of Street Fighter 6. I'm going to be talking to them. I'm going to be playing Ed early. And I'm going to be writing up a preview about Ed that's going to go up on GameSpot. And I'm also going to be interviewing the winner right after they win the biggest fighting game pool of cash ever. It is $1 million on the line for the winner and another $1 million on, for the next group of people. So a lot of people are going to be coming out of this significantly more well off. And I'm really interested to see the rest of the competition. The LCQ has already been like beastly, with some upsets and some really intense matches. There are some people who are like, yeah, man, this LCQ is even like going to be better than the Capcom Cup itself or the finals. And I'm like, I don't know that that's true, but they have been extremely good. And also shout outs to Group F. Ugh, man, if you've seen the bracket, Group F is brutal. Mena, please win because as a Luke player, we really need you. We need you, man. But anyways, that's what I'm up to. I also have an interview that I did with the CEO of Limited Run Games, talking about the Jurassic Park Classic Games Collection that is up on IGN right now. And I have another interview that I did with Francine Bridge and Miles Luna that is going up very soon about Slave Zero X, which is really, really cool. And I've got some other interviews that have gone up, including with one of the developers of Hellcard Book of Demons, and some other stuff. So if you want to check those out, they're labeled a little weirdly. I'm going to try to A/B headline them because they are half promotions for IGN Plus that let you get, if you're an IGN Plus subscriber, which gets rid of all the ads on IGN. It also gives you access to like these monthly games. So you'll get like keys for Steam and stuff like that. So these are games that we're giving away as part of that subscription service. But I have tried to grow these like feature posts where it's just like, hey, come get your key and here's kind of what the game is and all that sort of stuff. I've been doing interviews and I've been slowly like kind of expanding these pieces to be like really in-depth interviews with people, and I'm trying to cram in as much of the interviews as they will let me get away with. Hopefully one of these days,
good thing to do. Yeah.
Hopefully one of these days, I will be able to
There's
actually
another Granblue Relink player. What the fuck?
Yeah. Hopefully I will be able to get to a point where the video team can help me by like actually publishing the full video interviews, because a lot of these discussions are so great, but I'm starting to get like a rotation of questions that I will ask, like, hey, what's something about development that you wish players knew? Like, what's a game that you've been playing that really captures you? And then also getting into the nitty gritty of like what it takes to develop, what it takes to coordinate. When I talk to the CEO of Limited Run, it's like, what are some of the challenges of building some of these collections? What are some things, that inspire you to do what you do? These sorts of things. So like, and there is a lot of back and forth. I talked with one person about really liking the chaos of playing a magic user and just doing a bunch of nonsense that gets everybody killed. There's a lot of really cool and fun stuff. So I would love it if you guys would check it out. I've gotten positive feedback from the people who have read it so far. In the comments, people typically enjoy it. I know that they're mainly like, hey, get this key, but also like I put a lot of hard work into these interviews, and I would love it if you guys would check them out. So
Good stuff.
Hell yeah.
Kris, what you got?
By contrast, I am still not doing a hell of a lot. You can find my stuff at versusthebacklog.com, vsthebacklog.com. I am here every week, even going forward, once I take over your first chair position. Grr.
Oh, no.
And and yeah, you can find me on most games as Delfeir, Delfeir, and hit me up. I'll be around. I'll probably be diving over the next week. So if you see me on the front lines, for Liberty, for Super Earth.
Indeed.
All right. I'm Lucas White, Hokuto Lucas on social media. Most of my stuff is on Shack News right now. May as well rattle some things off. Just in the past month, I have reviewed Another Code Recollection. I have reviewed Granblue Fantasy Relink, which we just talked about.
Nice.
I've reviewed a game called Islands of Insight that I didn't talk about, and you don't really have to read that. It's fine. Helldivers 2 and Qomp 2. All of that on Shack News just in the past few weeks, and there will be more. So yeah.
Nice.
Support the homies.
Awesome.
And Sigyl I Am in the chat, shout out, current free rotation in Granblue Fantasy Rising is Gran, Jita, Catalina, and Siegfried.
Okay.
So, Lucas, if you're looking to jump in, you could play some of those characters.
Yeah. There's always 4 characters, and one of them's always Gran. And then they rotate the rest.
But yeah, Jita and Siegfried are very powerful characters. Catalina needs a little bit of help, but she's still a menace. But anyways.
Jita takes up a slot.
Yeah, Jita and Gran are different characters and moves.
Yeah, they are different. They're different.
Okay, all right.
Similar core fundamentals. It just Ken Ryu situation, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jita has like a kind of a Rekka series of attacks, and she has a chargeable fireball, whereas Gran has like a neutral skip, like a boot kick, and stuff like that. But yeah, they both have really good DPs. They both have really good projectiles. They both have really good supers that do a lot of damage. Yeah. I think the best player in the game plays Jita. Just got a notification. What's going on?
Come join us.
Blank out. First time in the chat. I'm just a wandering viewer. Tell me about your podcast and what you guys made you want to start it. Oh my God, we're literally just signing off. But
no.
I started this in 2016 because we all went to damn. Anyways, yeah, we've been going for like almost 3 hours. But anyways, no, I'll explain it. But yeah, I started this. These guys are newer co-hosts, but I started with the original 2 co-hosts back in 2016 because I really wanted to. One of my favorite things in life is sharing things that I love with people I care about. And that's just kind of like my thesis statement for life. And so I love games, and I really wanted to tell people about the cool stuff that I was getting into and to create more of a deeper dialogue beyond just, man, this shit's so sick. Like, you know, I wanted to talk more in depth about that, and I wanted to get together with my friends and have an excuse to kind of talk about this. Also, my wife was like, you really need to stop trying to tell me all of this stuff because I have no idea what you're talking about. You should just go make a podcast. And I did. And
there you go.
The funny thing about it is that the people that I started this show with were all fans of an online content creation group called Kinda Funny. And we all loved video games very deeply. And we met at one of those shows. And since we started the show, we have all gotten into the games industry. All of us at one point have worked for IGN. Several of us have worked for GameSpot. One of the original hosts now works for EA. So we started and we were all doing kind of different things, and through the show and through the things that the skills that we have gained and developed on this show, we've been able to go out and actually do stuff like that, to where now I started this show just as somebody who was working at a mortgage company, and I'm going to do this in my spare room. And now I'm about to fly to Hollywood to interview the winner of Capcom Cup and like play characters early and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, and yes, blank out. I should tell my wife about the things I talk about in my podcast. Fun fact, Audrey has been on this show before, and she still goes back and listens to the episode that she was on.
That's awesome.
So
I love it.
Yeah. We actually did some spoiler casts with her where we talked about like Return of the Obra Dinn, and then we also did a spoiler cast for I guess it isn't really a spoiler cast. We did a full episode on Among Us with Brandon Hunt, who used to be a big social media guy at IGN and is now the lead singer for a metal band called Titan Rage, which is really cool. You should check out their stuff. But yeah, you are very welcome, Blank Out. I am happy to answer your question. Do not worry about keeping us from ending the stream. I always love talking to people in the chat. So thank you very much.
We're here every week, similar time.
Yeah. So definitely come back. We start the show at around 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then, I guess it would be 5 Pacific and like 8 Eastern. Yeah. But yeah, every Monday.
Tuesday noon here. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes up on podcast services, typically Tuesday. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for stopping by. And from everybody here at the Platformers Podcast, we hope you have a wonderful week and stay safe out there. Because until next time, we are out.
Peace.
Bye.